I mean, so. I don't know. I think I'm getting a bit sick or something,
Sick?
and yeah,
Why so?
been really tired today.
Yeah,
Usually I'm
man.
not
I've been kind of like
that tired.
sleepy. You know, just been kind of like,
Yeah.
you know,
No, I mean to the point that my eyes hurt. You know what I mean?
really.
Like yeah. It's like
Do you need to take off for the
I,
day?
I I mean I'll probably stay like kind of like an hour, and then
Okay.
I will
Yeah, yeah.
probably go.
I mean, it's no big deal.
Uh,
If you ever have to, you have no obligation to be here. So,
I
you know,
know,
if
but
you
I
ever
like
feel
it,
like,
man.
okay, if you like it, cool. Sick.
Also, like today, it's like I told you, I want to play a game with you.
Do you really?
Let's see if you.
Well, I was
I
loading
mean,
up
if you.
Diablo 2.
Oh no, it's not that kind of game, right? It's
Okay.
like it's a guess who said it game,
Oh,
you know.
oh yeah.
So it's that kind of game, you know what I mean?
Who are the two
So,
people?
well, it's who said it? Was it a Zionist or was it a Nazi? And you'll have to guess if you want to, right?
Okay.
Because
Is it a
it is an
Zionist or is it
interesting
a
one.
Nazi? Okay. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll hear it out.
Because
Do you,
I thought I knew a lot
do you
about
want to
like
try it
Nazi
right now or
Germany.
play some Diablo 2 while we wait
Whenever you
for an
want,
audience?
whenever you want. I mean, this could make for
We
like a good standalone
we
thing.
also have cool V1C. Do you know what I'm talking about? Who wanted to debate
No.
me
What?
today?
Oh
Apparently
yeah,
cool.
yeah. He
Yeah,
said he's
apparently
gonna be
cool. Yeah,
here.
cool is showing up today. So
Okay.
I'm
Well, I
excited
think
to
he
see
said
that.
yeah, he's probably gonna be like in half an hour, right? He's
Is
gonna
that what
be
he
here.
said?
So I think that's what he said. I think he said something about
Why do you
7, but
know
I might
about
be
this, but I do
mistaken.
not?
Because I remember him saying something like that
He
when we
said,
were
"Hello,
there.
First
Because I
Amendment.
was
Just
also
confirming
there.
we're still on for today." And I said, "Yeah, we're good. We can have the trans debate." That's what I said.
Yeah, okay.
So, like,
Well, I mean,
hopefully,
maybe I was,
trans
yeah.
debate.
Maybe I'm confusing. Maybe I'm
Yeah,
confusing the people, the person.
yeah. I gotta tell you,
But yeah, it's like,
I've not picked up Diablo 2 lately. Isn't that weird?
yeah.
I don't know what
Why
it
haven't
is.
you?
Like, okay, like I was having a blast. Don't get me wrong. It just okay. So what was happening is that like that feeling of just like, oh, let's do that mindless thing where we just kill stuff. Um, I've got a couple of well, minor complaints that it's starting to build up for Diablo 2. Are you gonna you're gonna crucify me?
Oh no, I won't, because I know, dude. I look, Diablo 2 and Diablo in general, right? And this type of games, they're a bit for like the autistic spectrum, because you
Really?
need to be able to do the grind, okay? And that is a grind, right? That
Yeah.
is happening there, and min maxing and like everything, right? And if you're able to do those things, then yeah, it's like you're just gonna enjoy it. That's why I loved it, right? And I
Mm.
still love it, and I'm still doing it because it's just like it's kind of like a mindless thing, but it's also not a mindless thing, right? It's like you need to also pay attention, and there's like a lot of things that you can do and to min max and get like the perfect item.
Let me tell you if I could see what I'm like talking about exactly. Uh, I I I don't like managing my inventory. This inventory thing
Yeah.
is kind of annoying. And these charms, the fact that it takes up inventory is not good. And like when
Yeah, I
it's as
get it.
tiny as it is, I can carry like, I don't know, 2 or 3 items. And guess what? I got to go all the way back. I got to open the town portal and then I go like submit the stuff. And then after I submit
Yeah,
the
but you
stuff,
see,
I can go
this
back
is
and then
why
I don't know. I've
this is
been
why I'm also playing some mods, right? So for example, look, I'm going to show you, okay?
like, I'm just going to be
Instead of
honest. This
telling you,
33
I'm going to
mana,
show you.
wow, great, amazing, good move.
Oh, you don't need it.
I don't care. Like, here's what I'm going to do, man. I'm just going to, this one I'll probably keep. This is, that's lightning damage. This, I don't care. I don't really, not really feeling it. Same thing with this one, not feeling it. I mean, this one's great and all, but I'm not feeling it. I'm just not feeling it. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop hoarding these trinkets so that way I can keep kind of doing the fraggledy waggle with my moves. Okay. That's how I feel about it.
I know. But look, I'm going to show you why I do. So what I do, like I play some mods.
Okay.
And I'm going to show you one of the mods. How the hell do I stream here?
Find soldiers
share my screen in this
frigid
one?
highlands. Sure, show me.
Dude, can I?
You should be able to. Why not?
Yeah, I know, but I don't know where. Because I cannot share my screen here. Okay. Huh. This is weird that I cannot share my screen.
That and like the way that like that mana potions work, I gotta tell you, man, I am not a fan of it. I actually really, really hate it. It's very annoying. Like I have to open up, my belt, and I have to constantly put back the stuff just over and over. And it's annoying. I don't want to have to keep doing it over and over. It's annoying.
I know it gets annoying. Yes.
Okay, so like, why do people like? Okay, this game's good. It's all right, I guess. But like, this game, like a game like Path of Exile, you're gonna crucify me because I'm.
Yeah, well, it's different. It's different. I like Path of Exile. Don't get me wrong. I mean, look at what I send you in the side chat, right? Because apparently I cannot stream. I probably need like special permissions to. Yeah, I can't share my screen for some reason. I don't know why. Don't ask me.
Oh, hey, Bro. Welcome.
But look there. Look there, right? In the side chat, I put a picture. And that's a picture of my inventory. Look how big it is. Not only that, in that mod, you don't have...
All right, hold on. Let me look. You're cheating. This is cheating.
No, that's the mod. And the one on the left is the Horadric cube. That's like huge, okay? Where you can also like put a lot of stuff. And all the things that you see on the left side, bottom left side, like all the charms you have, those are the charms.
Put items in the Horadric cube. So wait, can I carry around items in the Horadric cube?
Yes, but not charms. If you put a charm in the Horadric cube, it doesn't give you the bonuses.
Okay, well that's fine.
Yeah, but you can have items in the Horadric cube.
Yeah, it gives me additional inventory because honestly, it's just been kind of annoying. That and like
you
whenever like if I like generally speaking, I do not die, but when I do die, it's instant. It'll just be like oh, you're playing. Okay, you're not playing anymore. And I was like, all right, cool. Why is that the mechanic? Like, why can't the mechanic be a little more? I don't know.
It's very unforgiving.
Yeah, I mean,
it is very unforgiving.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, most of the game is like super easy, like no issues, right? And then it throws.
It's just the bosses. Either the bosses, not the bosses, the uniques, right? Like you have uniques, you have super uniques, and you have super uniques, right? Because it's like you can have like some you can have some world bosses that have like special abilities, right? And resistances and all that crazy good stuff.
I'm not in new game, right? I'm just playing the game. And
what difficulty are you on?
This is the first one, so wouldn't it be normal?
Normal?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean this one should be easy.
Well, it is easy. I'm saying that.
Yeah, well,
like,
once you start the other one, you're gonna see.
I'm saying like it's either easy, or it's like. Oh
no! What I'm saying is,
like
you
shouldn't
be dying
instantly.
that much. You shouldn't be dying that much.
No, I'm not dying that much. This is what I'm saying. I'm not dying that much. I'm saying, like, you're not. I mean,
you can get unlucky.
You're not understanding.
No, you can get unlucky. I know. It's like you can get unlucky and find like a super unique boss on the world map, right? When you're farming.
Oh my god!
And those can be pretty deadly.
I'm saying, like, let me give you an example. there I am playing the game. Boom, boom, boom. No problem. What's that second boss? You know exactly which one I'm talking about. It's a big worm
The
thing.
Yeah, Duriel or whatever.
Yeah. There I am. I'm just having fun, having a good time. And then dead.
I know.
And
But
it's
you don't
like,
see it's like because when you play on
and
Nightmare,
it doesn't
or like
feel like
Hell,
that, like, oh, that was your fault. It feels like, well, that was cheap. Let me go ahead and go back
kind of
and
is your
figure out what
fault.
I got to do. Well, sure, I didn't build a specific way, right? Really, the what needed to happen is crap. Where's the my friend told me what to do. They were like, oh, easy, static field. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, just static field. And I'm like, why static field? Like, I'm reading it and I'm like, I don't understand. And it's like, oh yeah, anything with static field is just dead. I'm like, just one? They're like, yeah, just one. I'm like, what? So then I just did static field and then boom, he's dead. No problem. And I'm like, why? Why?
Yeah,
I don't.
Well, it's trial and error.
Okay, but did you see my, like,
Yeah, I know. It's like it doesn't
It's
explain
stupid.
a lot of the mechanics in the game. Yeah, they're not really that well explained. And this
I'm
is
just
a
like,
problem,
it's
indeed.
like, it's kind of silly. I just like want it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like in Path of Exile, things felt pretty balanced, right? When you were taking damage, you felt like you're taking damage, right? In this game, it doesn't feel like you're taking damage. It feels like, oh, I need to press 1 or 2, unless of course in the event that things are hitting me so hard that pressing 1 or 2 is not enough, in which case I need to move away and then 1 or 2.
Yeah, the thing is like what's happening in Path of Exile. And again, it's like you need to understand like Diablo is like a pretty old game.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like it was built
Like
with like some other
obviously
things in mind.
newer
Yeah.
mechanics and whatnot. And
Exactly. And it's not
there's-
just the mechanics, it's like about the idea behind the game, right? It's like what do you want the feeling of the game to be? You know what I mean? So it's like in Path of Exile, you want it to feel like, okay, this is a hard fight because, oh my God, it's like I need to constantly run, I need to constantly heal. It's like, I may not die like instantly from everything, but it's like, yeah, this is a hard fight, right? And you feel those things, right? In Diablo, it's like, you need to do your research, you need to know exactly who you're fighting with, and if you don't have the right things, you're just gonna fucking die like all the time, and you're not gonna know exactly why you died, right? So you're gonna, because it happened to me when I first started.
Okay, like let me give you an example. Right now, I gotta tell you, man, I don't want to teleport to town. Why? My inventory is fine, but guess what? I'm low on mana potions. And why am I low on mana potions? Well, you see, because I'm a sorcerer, and in order to do anything, I need mana, right? So I am now racing against the clock, where ultimately the inevitable will happen. I'm just going to run out of mana potions, and then boom, I need to go back.
Yeah, but this is why equipment is so important in Diablo. Right?
I've been getting the mana regen stuff. I've been doing it.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
But there's
enough.
better than you understand. Yeah, it's like just there's some that you've seen, but there's like others. And once you get to the harder difficulties, the drops are gonna be better.
Okay.
Right. It's like the things you're getting.
So are you saying that I should just truck through it? Like just truck through it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm trying. I don't.
You have to.
I don't know. I just couldn't shake these problems.
But anyway, do you want to play my game, Ander? That is the question.
All right. Let's play your game.
Do you want to play the game?
I'll play your game.
Okay. So this is a game. Okay. I'm going to tell everybody. So the game is, can you guess who said it?
Okay.
Was it a Zionist or was it a Nazi?
Okay.
And you might say, well, that's going to be easy, right?
Because
it's like you kind of understand what it is.
I feel like no, because
Yeah.
I already know it's a no, because number one, lately regarding Israel, I have come to the conclusion that yes, it does appear that Israel is an ethno state, and it's not good that it's an ethno state either. So that's kind. So
So
like
let's start-
if they're arguing
let's
they're,
start.
like an ethno-state idea, then obviously it's just going to be it's going to have that problem.
It's 22 questions. Okay, let's see how well you're going to do.
Okay.
Okay. So who said this? We, on our part, are ready to put all these criminals at the disposal of these countries. For all I care, even on luxury ships.
Even on luxury ships. For all I
Yeah.
care, even on
So-
luxury ships. I think your trick there is the fact that luxury ships.
Yeah.
For all I care.
I'm gonna put it in the side chat. Maybe it's like I'm not speaking that my accent might.
Yeah, let me see. We on our part are ready to put all these criminals at the disposal of these countries. For all I care, even on luxury ships. Okay, for sure this is an Israeli, so it's a Zionist.
This is a Zionist.
Yes.
Okay, let's see if it's a Zionist.
Because Germany is landlocked.
I mean, I'm sorry about you, but it's not. This
What?
was Adolf Hitler. Yes, he did it in the speech at the Königsberg on March
What?
25th, 1938. Yes. I'm
No
sorry.
way.
I'm sorry. It's like you thought this was a Zionist. I'm sorry. I'm
Well,
sorry for you,
I
man.
did
It was.
because I assumed that
Yes, I know.
well, Germany is landlocked,
know.
so
I
why would
know.
they talk about ships?
They would have done anything to get rid of the Jews, right? Even with luxury ships, okay? And
Okay.
this is not just any Nazi, right? This was straight from the Nazi, okay?
Yeah, the Nazi,
Adolf Hitler.
the one Nazi.
So I'm sorry. It's like it didn't start well. I'm pretty sure you're gonna pick it up.
Okay.
Let's see the second one. Can't be harder than this one, right? All of the group will be able to do about it. Will be to scurry around like drugged roaches in a bottle. Okay, so I'm gonna put it in the side chat again, so you can kind of see it. Okay. So all of the, quote unquote group will be able to do about it will be to scurry around like drugged roaches in a bottle. I mean, this one should be easy. It's like, come on.
All right, hold on. All of the group will be able to do about it will be to scurry around like drug roaches in a bottle. I'm gonna say Nazi. I'm gonna say Nazi.
We're gonna say okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna hit Nazi. Fuck. Okay,
What?
So it was
that was the
Nazi.
Zionists?
This was Raphael Eitan, which was a general in the IDF in 1983. Okay, I'm sorry.
All right, so I'm 0 for 2. All right.
You're 0 for 2, man.
All
Let's
right.
go. Next one. Okay.
Dang, man.
It is impossible for a man to become assimilated with people whose blood is different from his own.
Assimilated from whose blood is different from his own.
Yeah. As usual, I'm going to put it in the side
could
chat so you can
be-
also read it.
This could be
by
either
yourself.
or.
Saying, man.
I'm gonna say Nazi.
Yeah.
Why
You're
not?
missing the SATs now. You're missing having to take the SATs probably because those were easier. Okay, so you're saying Nazi. Let's say, fuck.
Wrong again?
Again, it's Zeev Jabotinsky, right? Which was a revisionist Zionist leader
All right,
who co-founded
all right, so whatever-
the Jewish Legion of
so
the British Army.
So no matter
in World War
how,
I.
like, if it sounds like the most extreme thing ever, I basically need to assume it's a Zionist.
I don't know. It's like you're all for free right now. Okay, not a good start. Okay, but you can pick it up. You can pick it up. It's all good. Okay.
That is
4.
wild.
Okay. Okay, I mean this one should be easier, okay? Okay, this one should be easier. So, hashtag the region never progressed beyond the certain primitiveness. It has never known anything but chaos because it lacked mankind, the valuable bearer of culture, the genius who systematically planned peaceful reconstruction, who ordered the well-designed exploitation of the immense treasures and the fertility of the soil.
Okay,
This country
stop.
has
That's
only
too much
known the
words.
powers of
That's absolutely
Aristoteles.
the Nazis. Too much words. It's
I'm
the
putting
Nazis.
in this too many words. You're thinking
Too many words.
that's
it's the
that's
Nazis.
thing.
Yeah. People were
Okay,
in general
okay.
more educated back then, and so they're going to use bigger words.
I also put it in the side chat so you can see it. If you say it's a Nazi, let's see if it's a Nazi. Okay, you got it right. You got
All
it
right,
right.
all right.
This is
I got one.
Heinrich Himmler. Okay.
Heinrich Himmler.
In
okay.
1935.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so
sounds,
you do
makes sense.
1 out of 4. Okay,
I did
this
it.
is the comeback. This is the comeback.
The comeback. I'm coming back.
The start. Okay, quote unquote, these people, okay, so the group, must be destroyed. They are no longer human beings, they are animals.
Zionist.
I think, dude, I don't know this one, but I think it was Netanyahu,
Zionist.
okay?
I'm almost
After October
positive
7th.
that's
Yes.
Netanyahu.
Fuck. Okay, we are both wrong.
We're both wrong.
This was Joseph. Both wrong. This was Goebbels, okay? He said it in 1939.
I
Okay,
don't like
fuck.
what you're doing.
Oh my god.
This is awful.
I also thought it was a Zionist, okay? It's like we both
Why
wrong.
wouldn't it not be a Nazi? Or
And
why
now,
would
dude,
it not?
we
Why
were
would it
both
not be like? That's wild. All right, go
Just
ahead,
keep this
going.
in mind. I already did this
We're
once.
both
okay?
wrong,
and I
and
failed
you
it
still
again,
got it
probably.
wrong.
I still got it wrong.
All right.
Oh my god.
I'm ready for the next one.
Sixth one. The weak crumble, are slaughtered, and are erased from history, while the strong, for good or for ill,
Pause
survive.
Pause for a second. So it does look like we're starting to get an audience over on the YouTube channel side. They are saying, what is up, Amender? You always early. It's crazy. Thank you. I appreciate that. So, hey, here's what we're doing. We're playing a game. Daniel came up with a game for me. The game is it a Zionist or is it a Nazi? And I'm supposed to hear the quote and try to figure out if it's a Zionist or a Nazi. I am not doing well, I must tell you. I must admit, I'm what is it? 1 and 3 so far? Not good.
1 and 4.
Yeah, I'm not doing well.
One correct,
it's not
4
good.
wrong. Yes.
Yeah, and it's true or false. So it's
Yes.
I would be better off flipping a coin.
Probably. Okay,
All right,
so
so
the weak crumble, are slaughtered, and are erased from history, while the strong, for good or for ill, survive. The strong are respected, and alliances are made with the strong. And in the end, peace is made with the strong. I put it in the side chat so you can see it. This is a tough one.
I am going to say the Israelis. Go for it.
Okay,
Sorry,
Zionist. Okay, let's see.
Is it Zionist?
You got it.
Hey, I
Fucking,
did
you
it.
got it.
Smaller words.
This was Benjamin Netanyahu in 2017.
Smaller words. Never fails
Yes.
me.
There you go. 2 for 4. Okay, dude, this is the comeback. I'm telling you. It's like
I'm coming back.
You did better than I did.
I'm coming
you
back.
did better than I did. Okay.
You're just like a Zionist said that? What? No way.
Yes. Okay, so every baby, even 8 years from now,
Yeah.
will tell their grandchildren what the Jews did.
Oh, fuck. I feel
I put it
like
in the side chat so you can see it.
all right. I feel like now this is short words, but the problem is I feel like a Zionist. Why would they say this? Like, so I'm going to say it's the Nazis. All right.
Okay, let's
Final
see.
answer.
Wrong. Wrong.
How?
Okay, so this was
How?
said by Mai Golan, which was the Minister of Social Equality and Women's Advancement. Okay, in 2024, last year.
That's social equality and advancement. Oh,
Yep.
okay. I see what you're saying. Wait. So what they're saying is they're talking about the bad things that.
No, they're talking about what the Jews did in Gaza, right?
Yeah,
she
the
said,
bad
even in
things.
8 years from now. No, the good things, right? It's like
What?
She said, I am personally proud of the ruins of Gaza, and that every baby, even 8 years from now, will tell their grandchildren what the Jews did. So she was proud of the ruins of Gaza, right? That's the full quote. Okay, so I'm gonna put the full quote
That's
in
horrible.
the side chat so you can see it, right? And this is the Minister of Social Equality. Okay.
Bobro says,
Just so I
hey,
can
hey
understand.
man, what are we talking about? I missed it. Basically, we're talking about, is it, did a Zionist say it or a Nazi say it? And we're trying to figure out while we're waiting for the audience to kind of pile in. Anyway.
Sorry to tell you, you're 2 for 5.
I am
okay?
2 out of 5. I'm doing awful. All right, keep going. Keep
No,
going.
2 out of 7. 2 out of 7.
2 out of
2
7.
right, 5 wrong.
That's even worse.
Yeah. Okay, next one.
All right.
Okay, who said it?
All right, I'm trying.
Okay, so I am referring here to the evacuation of the group, the extermination of the group's people.
Okay.
This is one of the things that is easily said, but then they all come along and each one has his own dissent, from the member of the group. So I'm going to put it in the side chat so you can also see it.
All right, I'm going to say...
he's referring to...
I'm going to say Nazi.
The evacuation of the group.
I'm going to say Nazi. It's got to be Nazi.
I mean, this is easy.
Got to
It
be
has
Nazi.
to be Nazi.
It's got to be
Okay?
Nazi.
It was a Nazi.
Stop.
This one was a Nazi.
It was a Nazi. Okay, good.
It was a Nazi. Yes,
Woo!
this was correct. This was Heinrich Himmler in 1943.
All
Right.
right, cool. What does that put my score at?
3 out of 8. 3
3 out of 8. Okay. All right. Now, if I could just get 4 out of 8, then I'm as good as a coin flip.
Exactly. Okay, so
how many questions do you have?
those 22.
Okay, all right. All right. So we got
almost
plenty.
halfway.
We got plenty.
Yeah. Those are animals. They have no right to exist. I am not debating the way it will happen, but they need to be exterminated. And again, I'm going to put it in the side chat so you can clearly see it.
I'm going to
who
say...
do you think said it?
Zionist. Zionist. I think it's
Let's see.
Zionist.
Okay, it is a Zionist.
Yay!
It is a Zionist.
I did it. I'm as good as a coin flip.
Yoav
I'm
Kish,
as good as a coin
right?
flip.
Yoav Kish, which is the Minister of Education, and which is now the Minister of Regional Cooperation, right? That seems very cooperative, working toward the extermination of a
I
group.
hate that. Why do you do this?
Yeah, he said it in 2023. Yes. I mean, dude, you're almost 50-50. Okay, you're almost a coin. You are almost a coin. You're like so close to being a coin
All
right
right,
now.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Number 10. Okay, who said this? Something like a cage has to be built for them. I know that sounds terrible. It is really cruel, but there is no choice. There is a wild animal there that has to be locked up in one way or another.
It's got to be a Zionist. It's got to be. It's got to be.
Let's see.
It's got to be.
Let's see. So you say Zionist. Well, it is a Zionist.
Hey!
It is a Zionist. Okay, this one is Benny Morris.
I'm doing good.
Which is an Israeli historian. You just became a coin.
I'm a
literally
coin.
became a coin. You are a coin right now. So, okay. He said it in 2004. Okay.
I hate that.
Again, number 11. We're halfway through right now with this one. There will be no mercy. We had the moral right. We had the duty towards our people to destroy these people that wanted to destroy us.
All right, hold on. Repeat that. I was talking to somebody.
So there will be no mercy. We had the moral right. We had the duty towards our people to destroy these people that wanted to destroy us. And I put it in the side chat so you can see it.
I'm going to say the Zionist. It's got to be. It's got to be. Please. Please don't
Let's
do...
see. Sorry, man.
It's a
This is
Nazi!
Heinrich Himmler.
Ah, dang it, man.
In 1943. I know, you
know,
wouldn't expect this from a Nazi, right?
Well, Himmler messes me up because... because
He's very short, right?
Well, no, the problem that I have with Himmler is that he uses short words. That's not fair.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. It kind of throws you off, right?
It does.
Okay, so number 12. So what's so horrifying about understanding that the entire group of people is the enemy? What's so horrifying about understanding that the entire, quote unquote, group of people is the enemy?
That could be either or.
Yeah, this is a hard one. This is a hard one.
Understanding that Bro, it's a coin flip.
It is a coin flip. I mean, you are a coin though. I mean, not anymore, but you were a coin
No,
for
I'm
like
doing a coin
a
flip.
question.
Hold on. All right. Heads for Zionist, tails for... All right, I'm going to say Zionist.
Zionist? Okay, let's see.
Coin
it is a
flip.
Zionist.
Hey,
You got
the
it right.
coin. The coin.
Yeah. And who do you think said it? Well, obviously it was Ayelet Shaked, which is
I have
former
no
Minister
idea
of
who that
Justice
is.
and the Interior, right?
Oh,
Who
great.
said, it's like,
Fabulous.
It's like he said, what's so horrifying about understanding that the entire Palestinian people is the enemy? What is so
Jeez.
horrifying about that? Right? Yeah. So I don't know. Let's see. Number 13. Okay. Oh, this one is easy. This one should be easy. Okay. There is one and only one solution, which is to completely destroy members of the group.
It's got to be a Nazi. Do not tell me that that's a Zionist. It's got to be a Nazi. It's
Should
got
be
to
a Nazi.
Should be a
Nazi.
Don't do this to me, Daniel.
No, it's not a fucking Nazi. It's
What?
Moshe Feiglin. Oh my God, he said it in 2023. He was the deputy speaker for the Israeli Knesset.
How is that not a Nazi?
He's not a Nazi because it was Moshe Feiglin, which is the former deputy speaker for the Israeli Knesset.
This is
For
wild.
the parliament. No,
I hate
I know.
this.
What can I tell you? I hate it too.
I hate this.
Okay, number 14.
I don't like what you're doing. I don't like it at all.
I'm not doing anything. They're doing all the talking. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we shall exterminate
Citra got
the group.
15 out of 6. They're saying I played the game
Good.
too. I got a 15 out of 6. But I'm not Googling nothing. I'm just playing
I
it.
failed. I failed this. So we should exterminate the group. The group will not get away with the responsibility for #date. This day will be avenged.
Oh, I know. Yeah, no, this is for sure. It's gotta be a Zionist. It's gotta be. Why is it not a
It's gotta
Zionist?
be a Zionist.
It's gotta be.
Yeah,
It's
because
a
it's
date.
the date.
It's a
right?
date. It's gotta be.
It's a date.
Don't do
well,
this.
It's actually not. It is a
Are you-
Nazi.
Are you kidding me?
And it was Adolf Hitler that said it. Okay, again, the OG Nazi. Okay, in 1939, he said, "We shall exterminate the Jews. The Jews will not get away with their responsibility for November 9th, 1918. This day will be avenged." I'm
is
saying,
wild.
okay, it's not easy.
Well, we
Okay,
do.
number 15.
By the way, we do have Cool V1C. I don't know if Cool. Do you want to? Do you want to hop on now, or do you want to let the game finish and then come, or what would you like to do? I'm gonna leave it up to you because I know you're a guest, so I may as well, I guess, ask the guest. You could type in side chat or. Let me see. Oh, okay. I think they're DMing me. Here, tell you what. Let me just invite him because I think he's talking on his channel. Yeah. So let's go ahead and give it a shot.
All right. Can you hear me now?
I sure can. How you doing, Cool?
Pretty good. And yourself?
Good.
Awesome. Good. So what's going on here now? There's a game going on or something?
Yeah, we're Daniel had a little bit of a game for me ready to go. It was is it a Zionist or is it a Nazi? And you hear like various quotes and you have to figure out if a Nazi said it or if a Zionist said it.
I see. I mean, I would like to do the debate now, but I mean, it's up to you. It's your channel.
Yeah, we can do it now. It's no problem.
Okay, yeah. Sorry to interrupt the game and stuff.
No, you're good. We'll start it back up after this debate. Let's do it right now.
All right, cool. Sounds good.
Give me 1 second. Cool, V1C. You're being invited to speak. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing? How are you doing, First Amendment?
Good. I can't complain. What did you want to talk about exactly? I know you had a claim that you wanted to bring up, or if it was just a general topic, we could talk about the general topic.
I mean, it could be the general topic. It's I guess it all stems from one question I have. because I've seen your debates when you've debated transgenderism, and you use the argument about the brain patterns, right? About how the brain patterns, if I'm understanding correctly, they're very. So let's say I'm a man and I'm showing the brain patterns that are very similar to a woman. That will make me then believe I'm a woman, right? And then therefore my gender would be a female. Is that your argument?
Uh, more accurately, to put it into like a colloquial way, specifically how I would approach it is, think about it like if you're like a 14-year-old boy and you are just now going through puberty, and you're expecting, okay, well, I'm going to become a man, I'm going to become bigger and stronger. And so what ends up happening is you for whatever reason, the world has played a cruel trick on you. Nature or God or whatever you want to choose has played a cruel trick on you, and you have gynecomastia, which means that throughout puberty, you're going to grow breasts. Right?
Okay.
And there's like this internal feeling where you're just like, that isn't right. I shouldn't grow breasts. I'm a boy. Right? That internal feeling, that's gender. That's what I'm talking about. There's an internal feeling that is incongruent with what is happening with your external body.
Okay. So yeah. So pretty much, if in your head you suffer from this where you believe you're the opposite sex, then pretty much if you believe it in your head, like if you're suffering from this, then you're gender-wise, you're the gender which you identify in your head.
Yes, and I do believe that the thing in your head has a basis in your hormones as well as your neurobiology. Because they had tested on people who are transgender. There are some mega-analytic findings that confirm that trans people, I think it was over 98%, possessed these differences in brain character in the brain.
Okay, so basically, are you kind of like, would you say we should kind of just ignore sex entirely and just go purely on gender?
If we're talking about transgender individuals, you kind of have to imply sex as a concept, because what transgender just means is that your sex doesn't match your gender. That's what it means.
Yeah, I know, but it kind of sounds like you're saying is what you have going on in your brain, that kind of takes first priority over than what your sex is.
No, it's not that it is a priority. It's that both of these criteria need to exist in order to be that gender. In order to be trans.
Wait, what do you mean? Okay. But okay, so sorry, so explain that to me then.
Yeah. So your gender doesn't match your sex. That's what it means to be transgender. Transgender is a gender.
But which one? Uh-huh.
And so in order to create that distinction of what transgender is, it's where their sex doesn't match their gender.
Okay, so wait a minute. Now I have a whole new question. You just said transgender is a gender. So are you saying there's male, female, and transgender?
Yes, there are male trans
okay.
individuals and female trans individuals. Yes.
Okay. So the thing is that, yeah, you're saying it's sex and gender, but it sounds like gender kind of takes priority though, because let's say if my sex is I'm a male, but gender wise I'm a female, well then I just live my life as a female and bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah, I mean that's a complicated preference, I suppose. I mean that would be left up to the individual.
Okay, so here's the thing. Now, here's I guess my issue. Like one of the issues I have with it is that like so okay. I guess I should ask. Do you think everyone that identifies as transgender, do you think they all suffer from gender dysphoria?
No.
Okay. So what other reasons would someone identify as transgender then?
Their gender doesn't match their sex.
Oh, but isn't that gender dysphoria?
No.
Okay.
Gender
So then what
gender
is it when
dysphoria
their
is the
gender doesn't match their
discomfort
sex?
is the discomfort that somebody feels by not having the same sex as their gender. Not all trans people have this.
So then what is it called then when their gender just doesn't match their sex?
Transgender.
So transgenderism is different from gender dysphoria.
Yes.
Okay. So there's no other reason why a man would want to dress like a woman. It's only if they're just this third gender, or if they suffer from gender dysphoria.
Nah, it could be possible that they have that they get a kick out of it. It's possible. I mean, you're saying like it's why somebody would dress
Okay.
as a woman. I'm sure there's multiple there are cross dressers that are not transgender, for example.
I agree with that. So that leads me to my next question is, well, how do you know? Like, how do you know if someone is not just
You have to
dressing
take
like a
their
woman
word for
because
it.
they
Sorry, I'm
you
interrupting
just
you. I'm
gotta
gonna let
believe
you.
them?
I'm gonna let you finish. Go ahead.
Okay, no, but I guess at least so you're just gonna just have to take their word for it. But don't you think that's potentially dangerous?
No.
You don't.
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, I
Why
mean,
not?
I think it's when there's all sorts of things that we just kind of take people's word for it and just kind of move on with it.
Well, I don't think it's as easy as just moving on from it. I have a scenario for you. Okay, let's say, because I'm sure you believe that. Well, okay, I'm never mind about that. Just let's say I'm a woman-hating man, right? I'm mega, and I hate women. I just want to oppress them, tell them what to do, right?
You're
And I'm like,
mega?
you know what? I am tired of MAGA,
Oh, MAGA.
MAGA.
Gotcha.
Okay. And so let's say I'm like, it just really triggers me seeing women in sports. I'm like, nah, they need to be home in the kitchen. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to join women's sports, and I am just going to just dominate them and really put them in their place. Do you think that you'll be putting some of these women in danger?
Sure.
Okay, so then you don't think that, so then do you still think you should just take people's word for it?
Yeah.
What? But don't you think you'd be putting some women in danger?
I just don't think that anybody is like who hates women is going to actively turn trans just to dominate women in sports. It doesn't seem to be feasible. Like you have to understand like what it means to be trans. Like what are the implications of being trans? Being trans includes very much likely ostracism from pretty much everybody. Your friends, your family, your social circles, your job prospects. Everything gets put into question when you become trans. And if your hatred of women is so great that you are willing to throw out your entire life for it, there's probably something else going on. I just don't find that to be realistic, not even remotely. I operated within your hypothetical, but it's just not realistic.
Yeah, realistic. I mean, I'm not sure if it's realistic that someone could break into my house right now. Like, I don't think it'll happen, but that doesn't mean it can't happen. And even in my hypothetical, like, there could be a whole slew of other reasons why someone could just pretend to be trans in order to infiltrate women's spaces. And the thing is, with your logic, is there's no way of discerning which ones are truly trans and which ones are just doing it because
I mean, to
either
be
they
fair,
get off on it.
to be fair, a majority of spaces or of sexual assaults is between cis men and women. Like a cis man doesn't get stopped by going into a woman's bathroom. And a cis man, they will take advantage of women's bathrooms. And a majority of the assaults are, in fact, cis men. So I'm a little like in fact, there's very, very, very few instances of trans or self-described trans individuals abusing women. It's very much overwhelmingly, even if I imply capita, as in like I adjust for population, it's still overwhelmingly cis men. And honestly, to be fair with you, like it actually kind of makes sense, because one thing that's really common in trans communities or trans women, they often are taking hormones or hormone blockers, which actually reduces the libido. It's so much so that they even ask their doctors, like, hey, can you give me my sex drive back? I just have I have very little sex drive. And yeah, I mean, just generally speaking, these lower libidos that just reduces any sexual tendencies. They're just not interested.
So again, the issue with that though is that you're assuming that there are men. Yeah, let's say I'm like granting that. I'm like, yeah, you're right. It is majority cisgender men and women. But the thing is that you don't think in order to get access to women's spaces that there's not going to be cisgender men that are going to pretend they're trans in order to infiltrate those spaces?
I think like if you're a cisgender man and you want to assault women, you don't need the existence of trans people as an excuse. You could just do it. In which case, like, you go to jail and you get put in a box. And to be honest, if a trans person does this, then same thing. You just take them and put them in a box. Why should this ruin the existence of all other trans people because there's people that abuse, their privilege?
Still, it doesn't make, like, why you make it easier though? That's the thing. It's like you're making it easier for, like, let's say like creep cisgender men in order to gain access to these spaces. And even if they're not even like full on essaying them or something in the bathroom, they could still go on and take pictures or put a little camera in there or something like that. Like they could do other things other than straight up
that's
essay.
still overwhelmingly cis men doing that, not transgender individuals.
As I said, even if I granted you that, what I'm saying is that under your criteria, there's no way of telling who is an actual transgender person and someone who is just a cisgendered creep who wants access into these spaces. In your logic, you want to allow all of these people in there.
Yeah, so that way they got to go to the bathroom, right?
I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying.
Well, I'm like, okay, I mean,
I
am understanding.
Creep,
I am
right?
understanding what you're saying. There are already restrictions of men going into women's bathrooms, yet cisgendered people still sexually assault women. So I don't see what exactly you're solving, number one. And then number two, like, you believe transgender people ought to be treated normally, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So
Yes,
isn't it
I
fair
do.
to say that there are public accommodations for bathroom usage, and that people ought to be able to have access to that?
Well, no one's stopping them from using the bathroom.
Okay.
No one's stopping them from going to the bathroom. It's just using the one that you with their
I can
the
ask.
biological sex that you were born in.
So did you know that a majority of trans people, the way that they answer is they try to avoid the situation entirely, hoping there's a unisex bathroom, or they just go to the bathroom at home and then just try not to use the bathroom anywhere, because there's instances where trans women are using the bathroom. If they use the women's, there are people that make a fuss about it. And then when they decide to use the men's, they also make a fuss about it because they pass too well, or like they're seen as like a freak. So it's like, I guess my question is like, I feel like they have a right to kind of go to the bathroom.
Yeah, they do have the right to go to the bathroom.
So which bathroom do they go
listen,
to?
it must suck if you're someone, just to make it easy, the one that they're biologically born in, that matches their biological sex.
All right, let me, let's, I
Because
just want
the other way
make sure you get this
complicates
correct.
things.
Give me a moment.
Okay.
I'm going to share my screen real quick, and I'll also share the picture here in side chat. Where is my Chrome? Sorry, just give me a moment. Early streaming troubles. All right, so I just want to be clear.
Please.
This woman should go to the men's.
Is that a man?
just-
A biological man?
Yeah.
A biological man?
Yep. I just want to be clear. We want to ensure that they go to the men's, right? Because they're a biological man.
Yeah.
Okay.
The alternative.
Let's try the next one. Let's try the next one. All right. Let me copy this image.
Maybe we should make a game. What bathroom do they have to go to?
And what about this one? This is a trans man. So women's?
Yeah, women's.
Okay. And you don't find anything unreasonable about this?
Well, before I might have found something unreasonable, but the thing is that now that if you want to allow anybody, as long as they just identify as a woman, into the women's bathroom, well, then yeah, I mean, my
position makes sense in the sense that you go to the bathroom that you feel most comfortable in, and don't bother people who just need to go to the bathroom. They're just going to the bathroom. They're not going to sexually assault anybody. You just let them go to the bathroom. And like, for whatever reason, I mean, I'm sorry, this trans woman is not going to feel comfortable going to the men's bathroom, and this trans man is not going to feel comfortable going to the women's bathroom. And to be honest, like, if you had to be honest with yourselves, you would not clock this person as being a woman, and you would not clock this person as being a man. You just wouldn't, right?
Yeah. For first glance, I wouldn't.
Okay, so like, I don't see what harm is there in them going to their the bathroom of their gender identity. They're just using the bathroom.
Yes. Yeah. So I know you don't see the harm in these people. And again, if you would have asked me, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, and I would have said the same thing. However, the alternative, I think, is more harmful because you could be putting women and girls in danger.
That's wrong.
And so to me,
I've already debunked this. I've said
you did not.
Overwhelmingly.
You did not. You've actually never answered my concerns. You just said, well, you didn't really answer my concerns that what if cisgender men pretend to be trans in order to gain access? You never said that. You just said, oh, it wouldn't happen. But said who? You?
No, it says, like, I'm saying that the actual mechanics of being trans is very, very, very difficult. It is so much so that someone would likely never do that. Like how do I present like a decent analogy here? I'm trying to think of a good analogy. I'm trying to think of something that is so overbearing to do that you have to go through all sorts of different hoops and exercises, when in reality, just doing the action that you want to do would be a lot easier. I just don't see how a trans man is going to, or I'm sorry, a person who is not trans want to take advantage of women by becoming trans. Like, what kind of like weird, there it is. What kind of weird Wile E. Coyote level of like gymnastics that you have to go through when, let's be honest, I feel like you don't have to be trans to sexually assault people. You could just go into the women's bathroom and sexually assault people if that's your goal. You don't need to uproot your entire life to do so.
You don't have to uproot your entire life. Do you think in order for a cisgender man to gain access to women's restrooms, they actually need to go through like HRT treatment and live every single day as a woman in order to do that? No, they could, under your logic, they could just put on a dress and a wig and makeup and be like, hey guys, I identify as a woman, and
Or
you would
just
see
go
no
into the
problem with them
bathroom.
using the women's bathroom.
They don't even need to wear the makeup or do any of that. They could just go in. There's no guard standing at the bathroom. Like, again, you're like thinking of this bizarre, like it's, I mean, I don't mean to, it is bizarre because it's like a weird kind of like Looney Tunes, Wile E. Coyote like situation of like, it's like very elaborate. Whereas like they could just go into the bathroom and just sexually assault women. Like you don't need to wear a wig to do that.
Yeah, First Amender. Here's the thing, though. If I just go in dressed as myself, just as a man, and I go into the women's restroom, someone's going to see me and be like, hey, there's a freaking man in the restroom. We got to get him out of here and arrest him, right? But if I were dressed in a wig or whatever like that and put on makeup, well, all of a sudden now I could just be like, no, guys, I'm trans. Like, you're oppressing me if you don't let me use the restroom. And then they have people like you that would be like, hey, let him go. Let him use the restroom. Or let her use the restroom, I should say. You don't see the difference there? You don't see how they could have easier access?
I mean, yeah. I mean, if there's a person that would do that, I agree with you. Put them in a box. Why can't trans people use a bathroom?
I just explained it to you. How come you keep going to that question?
Well, because I just told you, like there are lots of people that would commit ill, and I agree with you. There are people that would trick people and commit ill. So what we do as a society is that those that commit ill, we take them and put them in a box. And mind you, even if you got rid of this law, like regarding like, oh, trans people have to use their biologically assigned, they could still sexually assault women and the end result would be the same.
Yeah, but why make it easier? If you do this, you're making it easier.
I don't see how it's easier. I think it's the same amount of effort. It's walking into a bathroom, wig and makeup, and then sexually assaulting a woman. Now there's a law that says no men in wigs and makeup in bathroom. Okay, they go into the bathroom anyway, wig and makeup, and then they sexually assault women. I don't see how it's going to prevent or make things harder.
Well, yeah, because there's going to be people like you defending them and being like, hey, leave that trans person alone. Just let them use the restroom. And then the woman that got assaulted or something could be like, no, they assaulted me. And you could be sitting there being like, oh, yeah, what? You're just making up lies. You're just being transphobic. And it gives the cisgender man pretending to be a woman a plausible deniability.
I didn't say anything regarding you being transphobic. It just sounded like you were just asking questions. And the next thing is that it sounded like
that you said I was transphobic.
It didn't even say that you
I didn't say that you said that I did.
Okay. I didn't say that.
Let me repeat it. No, let me repeat it. So let me repeat what I said. Maybe I didn't make it clear. So let's say a cisgender man dresses like a woman that, entered the restroom, SA's a woman in there, right? And then the woman comes out and says, hey, this person just SA'd me. But then since there's only both of them in there, they could have people like you that are like, hey, that woman's just being transphobic, being transphobic against this trans woman. And I don't believe this woman. It gives the cisgender person pretending to be a woman plausible deniability.
I'm a little lost. Like if somebody had gotten sexually assaulted, typically what you would do in that situation is you use an R kit and you perform an investigation, right? And that you would obviously see cameras outside the bathroom. So I I'm still lost. Like, just because that I'm in favor of trans people wouldn't result in this thing that you're talking about. It just seems kind of weird to me.
First of all, cameras outside the bathroom aren't the same as cameras in the bathroom. So you would still have the whole like he said, she said thing going on.
Do you think that there should be cameras in the bathroom?
There's that. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that you are the one that brought up that say, well, there's cameras. And I'm just pointing out, well, they're not.
I'm saying like there's
bathroom,
ways.
so that doesn't
the
really...
cameras is irrelevant, right? All I'm saying is that there are ways to determine if somebody had been SA'd in the bathroom, and it doesn't matter if they're trans or not trans. If they're sexually assaulting people, we put them in a box. What's wrong with that? Now trans people can use the bathroom. What's the problem?
Because there are people like you that are going to give them that plausible deniability, that whole benefit of a doubt, like, oh, well, I think that woman is just being transphobic. They're just hating because this person wants to use the restroom.
I mean, do you believe in innocence before proven guilty in a court of law?
Okay, well, First Amender, if I were to go into...
Can you just say yes or no to that? Do you believe in innocence until proven guilty in a court of law?
Well, yes, I do. Now, let me go back to my
point. Okay,
point.
so then the trans person would be innocent before proven guilty in a court of law. It is irrelevant as to whether or not that they're trans. So, like the plausible deniability
already... See how that connects to the point at all.
It does, because the plausible deniability exists in both you and I.
Okay, so let me get back to my point. So if I were to go in there, First Amender, dressed as myself, disguise myself, into the women's restroom, and then a woman comes out and says, oh my gosh, that guy just, SA'd me, what would you say to that then?
Well, there's usually an investigation that would happen.
No, what would you say? Not what would happen. What would you say? Like, what would your first opinion be?
Me? I would, like, my opinion, like, I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Like your knee-jerk reaction.
Oh my God, that's horrible. And then I'd walk away.
Hey, that guy just SA'd me.
I would go, oh my God, that's horrible.
No, but
and
your
then I would walk
reaction,
away.
Would you be...
That's my knee-jerk reaction.
Would you
I just
be
gave
more,
it to you.
how do you say? Would you be more likely to believe the woman in that scenario? Or would you really just be like, well, I don't know. We're just going to let the court settle it.
I like the court settle it. I assume innocence before proven guilty.
You wouldn't be more likely to believe the woman. Like, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, obviously let the courts do their thing.
To be fair, right?
But just your opinion, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you think
opinion,
I am. Like just some like crazy SJW leftist that thinks like all men should die or whatever. Like I'm not that. The arguments. I know you're not. I'm saying like that the arguments that I would think would be a concept of innocence until proven guilty. I said, well, it is possible that the woman has been SA'd, in which case I hope, if they have been SA'd, that justice is served. And if you're innocent and that you're being accused of it, that the woman would have crimes coming up against them for slander or, whatever law is there.
Okay, sorry, but I'm going to have to ask you to repeat that because you muted for most of that.
I did? Daniel, what happened? Did I mute it?
I only heard that last sentence.
Yeah, I couldn't hear you either. I didn't know if it was just me or was you, but yeah.
Stupid mic. I got to fix this cable. Okay, so let's say, for example, that... I mean, if I had to make operate under the assumption that what I would say is, okay, well, if the man SA'd the woman, then, I hope that they get what's coming to them. And if the woman is lying and the man is perfectly innocent, then I hope that crimes get pushed onto the woman, like slander or something, because that's obviously a very serious accusation that can result in a great deal of reputational loss.
Okay, great. Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Cool. So
I guess what
can
I'm
trans
trying
people
to
use the
get a
bathroom?
sense of. No,
Okay.
I just said, well, they can use the bathroom, but not the one that they identify that with gender wise. I don't know. I don't know
You
what's so
don't think that
funny.
there's going to be anybody looking at the person, the two people that I showed, that they're not going to be like, what the heck? Why is this person in the wrong bathroom? I'm sorry. They're going to look at that man, the
I
transgender man, and they're going to look at
so
that man and go, you're in the wrong bathroom. And the trans woman, and they're going in that, you're going to the wrong bathroom. Like, we could use I think that there's a level of intuitive logic that you're not utilizing, and instead going by like a very rigid, it must be this way. And you for whatever reason can't seem to sympathize with these people. Let's go back to the gynecomastia thing. Let's say, for example, you are growing breasts, and, the boys, they're picking on you, saying, you don't look like a man. You don't belong in here. Go to the woman's bathroom. Wouldn't you feel awful?
Yeah, just like I'm sure if there's a little girl in the restroom and some guy in a dress goes and essays her, I'm sure that little girl would feel awful too, and her parents. It would be awful.
Well, but you understand that, like, that doesn't really answer my hypothetical, right? Like, I'm
I
saying
said it would be awful, but I think it'd be more
put
awful.
yourself in the perspective of the trans person.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it would be awful to have that, to suffer from that, and to be really conflicted about using the restroom. I completely bleh, empathize with that.
All right. I mean,
But what about you? Do you empathize with a young girl or women that don't feel safe in restrooms or could potentially be assaulted or get assaulted by people pretending to be trans?
yeah. Well, I mean, there are numerous Pew research that actually shows that a majority of women don't actually care about this topic. It's usually mostly people who are
Really?
just, yes, that's correct. A majority do not care. It's not a concern. Just use the bathroom. It's a fine.
But what about
Right?
the
Because a
people who
majority,
have been
they
victims
already
of
know
this?
that a majority of essays is not trans women.
Yes, even if like I said, even if I grant you that majority is not of trans women, what about cisgender men that are pretending to be trans?
Right, great, but I just don't see like this giant amount of cisgender men doing that, and also they're going to do that anyway if they want to sexually assault women. They don't have to do a weird Looney Tunes thing. They could just walk in.
I don't know why you keep thinking it's a weird Looney Tunes thing.
It
Like
is
if it's
because like
that's so
you got to put on
impossible.
a
Like, oh my
costume
God,
to
that
go
could
into the
never
women's
happen.
bathroom. No, you could just walk in. Have you ever like mistakenly used the women's bathroom before?
So
Has
a
that ever
man
happened
putting
to
on
you?
a dress now is putting on a costume? Whoa.
No. Can I?
I just asked, like, so wait a
Nope.
minute.
I want you to address
So
what I
putting
just
a
said.
man putting on a woman's
Nope.
dress is a
Nope. You're
costume
pivoting.
now.
Please stop pivoting.
It's a costume now. That's fascinating.
Please stop pivoting.
No, you said that. That's
So let's
interesting.
try. Let's
You
try
said a
it one
man
more
putting on
time.
a dress is a
We're
costume.
gonna try it one more time. So, crap. Now you made me lose my train of thought.
I'll get you back on track. You said a man putting on a dress is a costume.
No, that isn't what I was getting to. But sure, I'll go ahead
Said
and
that.
engage with you.
This
here.
is interesting because you're pro-trans, but you're someone
Yeah.
who's
So if a person is
transgenderism.
yes. So if a person is cisgendered, and their purpose of putting on a dress specifically to trick women and sexually assault women is putting on a costume. Yes. But I do not consider this to be analogous to being a trans woman because their gender doesn't match their sex and they would like their external features to match that. So it's not necessary. It's more than just a costume. It's a very way of life. So no, not the same thing.
So if I believe, okay. So if I were to believe, if I got hit in the head or something, and I believed I was Abraham Lincoln, and I wore Abraham Lincoln outfits and stuff, you wouldn't consider that like a costume or anything?
If If a person was dressed as Abraham Lincoln, this is such an odd
And they believed it.
way of going
You
about
can't
it.
just call things odd because you can't think of arguments. You can't just call things
Well,
odd
I'm just
or
trying
weird
to I'm
because you
trying
can't
to
think of
kind
good
of wrap my
arguments
head
for it.
around it. I'm thinking like,
It's not that hard.
I mean, it's like it comes down into like a philosophic, like what I consider to be I don't really think it's all that relevant. Like whether or not something is a costume versus not a costume. This doesn't really revoke any of my argument regarding the existence of trans people and that we ought treat trans people like human beings, and they ought be able to use the bathroom. And honestly, like if they just need to use the bathroom, just let them use the bathroom. It's not a big deal. If anybody sexually assaults another
And they can use the
individual,
bathroom.
it doesn't matter, trans, not trans, we just take them and put them in a box. That to me seems to be the most logical way of going about it, not like this kind of weird, culture war, pro-trans, anti-trans position. I'm simply saying, let's just, use our brains here and say, hey, let them use the bathroom that they feel comfortable in going to. It shouldn't be a big deal.
Well, yeah, but you're putting people in danger because if someone wants to pretend they're
It's not
trans,
the case.
they could just do that. I know I know you keep saying that.
I'm not.
But
no,
it's
so
possible, and I think-
the only thing that you've been able to present in terms of putting people in danger is a hypothetical. And so like I can present you a hypothetical.
It's never happened. No, that's never happened.
Well, cool. If I said to you that let's say that you're a serial killer and you are killing tons and tons of women in the basement and chopping their bodies apart. Why would you do that? It's silly, right? It's a it's not reality, right? You're not actually putting women in danger.
In that hypothetical,
What you're doing is you're looking at a hypothetical and then on the basis of the non-existent hypothetical, creating outrage from the non-existent hypothetical. And so going back into reality, women are not in danger by sharing the bathroom with trans women, and trans men are not in danger to other men using the bathroom.
Going back to your hypothetical, I could engage with the hypothetical. I mean, if I were a serial killer killing women, it's because I was a crazy lunatic serial killer, and that's why I would be doing that. Because
no, I'm saying
I'm a sociopath and a psychopath.
You're not understanding my.
I know,
my
but I'm
argument.
going backwards.
You're not understanding my argument. The
So
whole
anyway,
point that I brought that argument up, was because you basically were saying that you're putting women in danger. That's what you told me. I'm not putting women in danger. You operated a flabbergasting hypothetical and extrapolated that into me actually saying that women are put in danger, when in reality, women are not put in danger.
As you.
What? No, not says me, says statistics. I mean, if you want, I can bring you up studies that show sexual assault and how it's overwhelmingly cis men. And mathematically, even if we include the very tiny minority of trans people, it still is mostly cis men. Like I've sat there and I've done the math on this. I mean, if you really want, for the next 20 minutes, we can go over a systematic analysis on how it's not trans women assaulting women in bathrooms.
You keep bringing up trans women. I keep saying cisgender men who are pretending to be trans to gain access into
Okay,
these
that's a
places,
hypothetical.
which
That's
you
not
keep
reality.
saying, that's a wacky.
Yeah, it is a wacky
So
hypothetical.
it's
No one
never
does
happened.
this. I didn't say it does. It never happened.
No.
I'm saying no, like almost pretty much
0%.
nobody does this.
0%. Never happened.
Yeah, it would pretty much
never
be zero.
happened.
Yes,
0%. Never happened.
Yes, it would be in the 0%
Pretty
category.
much, or
That's correct.
actually 0%.
It would be in zero. Yeah, it would be
It
0%.
would be 0%.
That's correct. Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, it's 0% that.
Yeah, like if something
trans
is
person-
0.00017%, that's still 0%. Yes.
Okay, First Amender. What do you think the chances are someone's going to break into your house right now?
0%.
Well,
Very
if I
low.
were to say, okay, First Amender, it's pretty much low that someone's going to break
Very low.
in your house.
Yeah.
Someone's
Negligible.
going to break in your house. Would you leave your front? Okay, let me finish. If I were to tell you, okay, First Amender, it's very low that someone's going to break in your house. So therefore, you should just leave your front door wide open.
No.
Why?
Oh, because it's smart to take necessary precautions. That doesn't impede on anybody's
really?
liberties.
It's smart to take. It doesn't impede if any. What if it's someone's at liberty?
Yeah,
to want to
like
take
me
your
locking
stuff?
my
Don't you
door
think you're
isn't
impeding on their liberties?
Me locking my door isn't revoking anybody's liberties, right? Like they don't have a right to my house, so it's not really impeding on your ability to live your life. I'm listening.
Trans woman doesn't have a right to the woman's bathroom.
But they do. You already said that people have a right to the public restroom, and I guess the only thing that we disagree with is what restroom they're allowed to use. And I mean, I'm glad that you bit the bullet on like looking at this very clearly. Like if you just looked at them, they would be a man. They're supposed to go to the woman's restroom, and if they're a woman, they're supposed to go to the man's restroom.
So another thing is like keeping your door closed and locked. Would it also be out of keeping you safe?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
So the whole reason why someone would want to lock their front door and not leave it wide open was because that would be smarter to take precautions like that because it helps keep you safe.
That's correct.
Correct?
That's correct.
So how come that logic doesn't apply with bathrooms and women and girls?
Because you're not being going to be essayed likely from a trans person. In fact, it would be a cis man that would do that. And the end result is that just would take away the liberties of people from being able to access the restroom if they need it. Like, let me.
Well, no one's saying.
Let me ask you another question. Like, let's say, like, one thing that happened. I went to a cigar lounge, right? And if you've ever been to a cigar lounge, it's mostly men. Many women don't really show up at a cigar lounge. And I'm standing there at the men's bathroom, and they were just like, I was waiting in line. And somebody came up to me. They said, "Why are you waiting?" I was just like, "I'm waiting to use the men's bathroom." I said, "You can use the women's. No one's going to use it. It's all right." And so then I just used the women's. What's the big deal?
What's the big deal? So pretty much there should be no gendered bathrooms, and you just think anyone should. You should just think
I'm not necessarily against having gendered bathrooms. I mean,
then what was the point of that story? Then what was the point of that story?
Well, I'm just saying it's not a big deal. That's all I'm trying to tell you. Like, you're making it into a big deal when in reality it's not a big deal. It's just let people use the bathroom that they feel comfortable in going. It's not a big deal. These things don't matter. There's much more important things. Like, we could talk about, what's going on regarding the erosion of the middle class. We can talk about, birth crisis. We can talk about the environment and how it's being destroyed. I just don't see why is it such a big deal if someone just wants to use the bathroom. Like it's like the least important thing on my mind. Like I don't think about it anywhere close to as often as a lot of Republicans that I talk to. I'm not saying you're a Republican, but I'm saying that a majority of like right wingers, they obsess about this, and I just don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know how it doesn't make any sense. Because see, listen, here's the thing, First Amender. I could actually understand where you're coming from. You're really empathizing with the trans person that that looks like a woman and stuff like that, and you think they should be able to use the bathroom that they feel comfortable using, that they identify with, because you don't think that they should be scared. You don't think they should be harassed. You just want them to comfortably be able to use the restroom. Am I correct?
Yeah, be able to exist in society without harassment. Yeah. Kind of like it's
Okay, now
assumed
see how
for men and women. Yeah.
okay, so now see how even though I don't agree with that argument, see how I could at least understand where you're coming from and not just go, man, you're so weird. Like I just don't get it. Like you honestly don't see the concerns that we have.
I see the concern. I just don't understand the obsession, I guess.
Well, because we don't want innocent women and girls to get hurt.
Unless, of course, if there's a baby involved.
Much like how you're concerned. Much like, okay, well, we could talk about that.
I just want to be clear, right? I mean, you don't want women to get hurt, but, you know, you don't want them to have the choice of... Do you want them to have abortions? Are abortions acceptable in your mind? We'll get back on topic. I just want to be clear. Are you there? Cool V1C? Can you hear me, Daniel? Did I lose connection? Chat, can you all hear me? What in the world? What happened? I'm not sure what just happened. Hello, hello, hello. I can see the
Oh,
thing.
now I can hear you.
What
now
in the world
I can hear
happened?
you.
I didn't hear anything.
I have no idea.
I
I
can-
have no idea. Might be Discord again. Who knows?
Ah, Jesus. Okay, well, so I do want to get back on topic, but you did say that you want to protect women and you want women to be safe, and then I said, well, but not in terms of if there's a fetus involved. I did say baby. What I want to correct is I mean fetus. But then again, that's jumping ahead. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Are you a pro-life or pro-choice?
Are you
I
going to
can't-
get into
go
an
ahead.
abortion? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
Oh.
Yeah, we're
You can
not
hear
going to
me?
get into the abortion argument. I just want to know your position, right? Because what you had said to me is that you want the reason why you do not want trans women in women's spaces is because you want to keep women safe. So I'm just want to be clear if whether or not that you're consistent in your worldview and that you do want to keep women safe. And we are aware that pregnancies are potentially life-threatening. Every single one of them are potentially life-threatening. And you're not really aware that they're life-threatening until they actually are. And it is usually in states where abortion is prevented, where women's lives are put into danger. So I just want to be clear, right, that are you pro-choice or pro-life?
So I have no problem answering that question. I just don't want this debate to go into that because that is not the topic.
That's fair. Me neither.
Okay, so can we go back to the trans debate then, and we could have the abortion debate again?
Are you
time?
pro-choice or pro-life? That's all you have to answer.
I'm pro-life.
You're pro-life. Okay, so the concept of harming women is not a thing. It's just about hating trans people.
That is ridiculous. I could make the same thing about to you. Oh, well, it's not about helping trans people. It's about hating women.
Well, but I hold a consistent worldview in that I believe women ought to have the choice. And I believe that trans women are women. And so I would want to protect all women, which means that trans women have a right to use the bathroom as they see fit. It's perfectly consistent. Yours is the inconsistent one.
Oh, it's not consistent because you want to give men easier access to women's spaces.
I'm
So, no, it's
saying
not logically
giving
consistent.
women by gender access to women's spaces.
What's going on there?
It's a phone call that I just received for the debate. After this debate, call in again, and I will bring you. I'll answer it. Okay, so I apologize for that. Sorry. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I guess I'm going to have to disagree that it's logically consistent because no, you are putting biological women and girls in danger by allowing biological men into women's.
That's not true because
Well, that's not logically.
that's
Yeah, it
only
is.
true under the basis of your hypothetical. I don't know why you keep extrapolating hypothetical as if you're real. Why are you a serial killer? I gave you a hypothetical where you're a serial killer. Why are you a serial killer?
And I engage with the hypothetical. I'm saying, well, if I were a serial killer, I would be one
The
because I was
point
a
is not to
psychopath and a
engage with the
sociopath.
hypothetical. The point is that hypotheticals aren't real.
That's not exactly the point of hypotheticals. It's kind of to test your worldview and make sure you're logically consistent. But
Hmm.
regardless, you saying that just because, well, you're just saying 0%, that it'll never happen. Well, that's just you saying that. That would
Well,
be like
no,
if
the
I said,
numbers
okay,
actually
first
show
offender,
that.
just
That's
leave
not
your
just
front
me
door
saying that.
right
That is
open.
empirically the case.
That's cisgender men.
My
There's
ability,
never been
my
cisgender
ability of
person.
using my lock is not equivalent to preventing trans women access to bathrooms in women's spaces. That is not equivalent.
What if a trans woman wanted to? What if a trans woman wanted to rob your? Do you live in an apartment, or what if they wanted to rob your apartment?
I don't live in an apartment. I have a house.
Okay, then what if they wanted to rob your house?
Um, I would prevent them from doing that.
How would you do that?
I would kill them if they threatened to kill me.
Okay.
Like, you understand that the aspect of them being trans is irrelevant, right? Like, I don't just give somebody
See, the
kid
thing is, I'm
gloves
not
just
even
because
saying.
they're trans. I'm saying that, like, right now, in today's day
I
and
kind of think you
age,
do.
in the United States, well, I'm explaining it to you. I don't. I'm in the United States. There is a huge push against trans people, and it's often at the lack of understanding and the push of like a culture war, often that will only just bring popularity to people, as opposed to actually like abiding for what is right in the world. What it's just causing is just an intense amount of harm on a minority of people that don't deserve it. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I think women and girls deserve it either.
Great. So you and I are in agreement. Trans women deserve to be treated respectfully, just like other women. I agree with you. Yeah.
Okay, sure, I never disagreed with that, but that wasn't the point of that at all.
Yeah. Yep. Only women go into women's spaces. Totally agree. That means trans women can use the bathroom. Yep.
Yeah, or if a man just wants to put on a dress and infiltrate women's spaces, that's perfectly fine too.
I mean, a cis man doesn't
With you.
have to be a Looney Tunes character to do that. They could just do that. And then in which case we put them in a box. I agree with you. Let's put them in a box.
So you keep saying lunatic, not lunatic, Looney Tunes character as if that's unbelievable, never happened.
Yeah, it doesn't. It really doesn't. It's totally made up by the right. Yeah.
Totally made up.
Yep.
All right. I'm gonna have to find cases, but what's it
Are
called?
you going to
But,
find a single case out
has
of
your house
300?
ever?
Hold on. Are you going to find a single case out of 300 million people and say, see, it happens? Is that your argument?
Yeah, because you're saying it never because because your
Yeah,
argument's
I mean,
never happened. So
statistically
if I do
speaking,
find
it doesn't.
one, that disproves your argument.
It doesn't, because statistically speaking,
well,
it really doesn't
how-
happen. I'm sure out of 300 million people, there is like a single freak scenario that causes something bad to happen, in which I agree with you, put them in a box. That person should not be in society. That doesn't mean all trans people shouldn't access. Like, what if, for example, that I extended that to say, white people can't go to any crowded areas anymore. They're not allowed because a majority of white people commit violent crimes, usually like in hordes of people. And so we don't want any of these white people to go AWOL accidentally. And so we should prevent all white people from going into public spaces. where there's a lot of crowds. Wouldn't that be silly? That's a silly argument, right?
Well, that would be. Yeah, that would be silly.
Yeah. Because like what? The probability of a white person actually doing that is, well, it's pretty low, right?
Sure.
So why is that different for trans
so
people?
how many times has your house been? Times has your house been burglarized or robbed or whatever? Like, how many times has someone broke into your house?
I am not answering that question. I don't think it's number one. It's a little bit personal.
Okay,
Number two,
why?
it's irrelevant. Is there any way that you can make it less personal?
Okay, Yes. Okay. Okay, I'll make it less personal. Personal. I'll just go with. Okay, a person lives at a house. They've been living there for, I don't know, 10 years, and no one's broken into their house. Right? There's been no incidents whatsoever. Would it be advisable then that they should leave their door wide open, never lock it?
No. Again, you keep bringing this up, and you're not engaging with what I had said prior. There is nothing impeding you from living your life by me locking my own door. Right? But there is something impeded. There is someone being impeded if they can't use their bathroom.
Well, you've already said that if it's a cisgender man pretends to be a woman, goes in a woman's space and does something, put him in a box. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if they commit sexual assault,
you
put them in a box. Completely agree. Yeah.
Okay, so what if the person really just likes robbing houses, or what if they just really need the money, so they just want to rob houses, make their money that way? You wouldn't be impeding on their life.
No, because you're harming other people by doing that. You put them in a box.
What if they don't harm anybody? What if they just steal the stuff? No one gets hurt. They just
put them in a box. I'm very strange in this way, where I, like, among other leftists, like I place a great deal of, I guess, honor. I don't know honor if this is the right word. I put a great deal of emphasis on the execution of private property rights being exercised. I think it's extremely important to the, and it's like very foundational to the existence of like modern Western society. And I think if you like take away basic property rights, a lot of things go way out the window. And I very much am not in favor of that. Like, I was even against what was happening with the George Floyd riots, believe it or not. Like, I did not like seeing businesses getting their stuff looted. I was really upset by that.
Isn't stealing by definition a crime that harms other people?
Yes. I think those people go in a box. Like, just because George Floyd got murdered doesn't mean, like, I remember there was this one gentleman who was just loading up. I was
addressing like Cole's hypothetical, because in the hypothetical, you just said they're just like stealing. They're not harming anybody. I don't want to. Stealing is by definition.
I don't want to 2v1 him. So we'll just continue a bit longer, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Sorry. I was just like, curious to see.
Let me ask you this.
Well, obviously, yes, stealing is wrong.
Cool. What bathroom should I go to?
The man. Well, you're a man, right? Biological man.
Am I?
Are you a biological man?
Am I?
I'm asking you. Are you?
I don't know. Why don't you?
You don't know if you're a biological man or not?
Why don't you help me?
Why would I do that? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, I'm saying, like, I mean, there's got to be like some sort of arbitration here. We don't want to accidentally abuse anybody, right? So we got to make sure we get this right.
I'm asking you, are you a biological man? Do you not know if you're a biological man or not?
I'm not telling you. I don't know. I mean, you just seem like that you would know. I mean,
I guess we can't
go
further in this then. Can't go further than on this then. So there's that.
All right. I'm just going to tell you. I'm not a biological man. No. Which bathroom do I go to?
Oh, you're not? Okay. So then you're a biological woman?
Yeah.
Okay, then you should go in the woman's bathroom.
Are you saying that it comes down to what I tell you?
Well, I can't check. And you're asking me
So
a
wait,
question.
we have the same position. It comes down to what they say.
Oh, well, what's it called? So you asked me. So you asked me. You asked me which bathroom should I use.
Do that, but that
He's frigging out, guys.
Oh my God. I didn't even mean to do that, but that happened. That's hilarious. Come on. That's funny. All right. So earlier in this argument, and I'd love to clip it really, because it's an incredible position. You said, well, so it just comes down to what people say. And I say, yeah. And then when I drill down to what you would determine, what bathroom that they use, it also comes down to what people say. All I had to tell you was that I'm born a biological woman, and all of a sudden I have full access in your mind to the women's spaces.
Who's with your freaking argument, though? That.
Well, I asked you what bathroom I should go to. It wasn't even an argument.
Yeah.
All I said was, what bathroom should I go to?
Because now under your worldview, all you have to say is, "Yep, I'm a woman," and then there you go.
Well, no, in my worldview, I don't need in my worldview, I don't need to question a single individual. All I do is I just let people use the bathroom that they need, and then that's it. That's the system I operate on.
Okay, so yeah, if someone that looked like you walked into the women's restroom, you would just, okay, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to let them use that restroom.
Yeah, kind of. First of all, I wouldn't even be in the women's restroom, but assuming that I was a woman in the women's restroom and I saw a man walk in, I mean, I'm just using the restroom and I'm leaving.
Didn't you just say you used the women's restroom earlier?
Yeah, because it was the men's was occupied and someone just said you can use the women's.
I guess if any woman saw you in. Sure. So, and if a woman just saw you in there and like, oh my God, what are you doing here? I guess in order to get out, you could just like, no, I'm a woman. I'm a biological woman. And then they'll be like, oh, okay.
No, I would just say, sorry, the men's restroom was in use. I didn't realize that this place was in use. My bad. That would be what I would do.
Okay. So, you know what? Yeah, you're right. I guess we don't have to do the Looney Tunes example of wearing a dress. Now, I could just walk into the women's restroom. Like, let's say if I was a creep, right? And if I wanted to just go into the women's restroom, I could just be like, no, guys, I'm a woman. I'm a biological woman. Yeah, I know I look like this, but I was born a woman. I'm biological, so this is my bathroom.
Yeah, I mean, that's also true in your mind. Because if I can just say I'm a biological woman, then I can use the bathroom by your lights. That is insanely hilarious.
See this whole now everything is just topsy-turvy now because of this ideology.
No, it's topsy-turvy because you will not move
that they want.
Yeah, I'm saying that it's topsy-turvy because you will not move on an otherwise completely reasonable position. My position is a lot more reasonable than you give it credit for. And while it requires you to take all of these bizarre twists and turns, mine is very simple. And I don't even have to educate a single person to act in this way. But for whatever reason, you've got to go out of your way to do it. So I'm lost. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, because it doesn't make sense to you. Nothing makes sense to you. If it doesn't agree with your worldview, it just doesn't make sense. You can't grant, even when I said, oh, well, we're concerned about women, in your head, you can't fathom that because,
because you don't. I mean, because there's plenty of instances of mortality being risked by having children, but you're perfectly pro-life, as in it should be up to a politician, 100 to 1,000 miles. So obviously it really just comes down to, I don't know if you just like controlling people, or I don't really know I think what it is, if I can just be honest with you, I think what it is that there's a lot of people with trans people. They're just genuinely, it freaks them out that there are that trans people exist. It makes them go,
oh shit,
ew, icky, and then that's it. That's the entire basis behind it. And there's lots of people where the initial knee-jerk reaction is that, yes.
Okay, so I appreciate the armchair therapy right there, like diagnosing me. But
none of that was therapy. I was just saying what I think it is for a lot of anti-trans people.
I understand.
It has nothing to do with protecting women.
Because that's what. Yeah, I understand that's what you think because that's what you have it in your head. You have this bigotry against like right wingers and stuff, so you think we're just all hateful people.
I didn't say right wingers are hateful people. I said it's really common.
I know you didn't. Well, you said that before. You said you do hate right wingers and stuff, but
it is true. I do have a video that says I hate Republicans. That is fair. In reality, like obviously, like I'm sure that there are right wingers that I can get along with. I don't like the part where they start, wanting to legislate or subjugate people that has actually caused no harm. I'm not looking at trans people, largely have not caused any harm to anybody. It's just people's outrage.
No, they have caused harm. Like to say that they've not caused harm, that's ridiculous.
What, harm have they caused?
Well, first of all, they're beating women at women's sports. I mean, that's not fair.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought they had been largely banned out of sports. What about that one girl that got her? You mean that girl that sustained? You mean that girl? Do you mean that girl that sustained injuries? That's really typical of her sport. Yes, that did happen.
What sport are you even talking about?
It was a boxing match.
Yeah, but do you think that largely happens?
Yeah, the person got a messed up eye, and it turns out that like when they found out that that's brain actually damage. A very, very common injury in that sport.
He also got brain damage too. I'm not sure how common that is. But I'm sure
I'm saying like that can happen with or without trans women. And then also like this doesn't even take into account the existence of biological women that naturally have a lot of testosterone. Those exist too. Man, that's a brain breaker right there, man. When you find out about people like Emaine Calif and Castor Semenya, that's a brain breaker. Because it's like you have people who are biological women and they operate just like other men, and they crush. They absolutely crush. Are you there?
Okay, sorry. Okay, so pretty much. So then, do you think there should be no division when men and women's sports at all? They should just all play together.
No.
Doesn't make sense.
Well, it does because I believe that trans women are women, and so by that virtue, understanding that they are women, and I also believe that women ought be able to compete, including trans women. The question is what sport do I put them in? Typically speaking, in the particular sport that they go in, initially I was kind of on the side of a lot of right wingers where I was thinking about specifically the natural advantage that men have over women. Though as I kept thinking about it, I realized that that's kind of what sports are, is just natural advantages over people based off of like genetic as well as skill. To me, I'm like sitting there thinking, wait a minute, hold on. So let's break that down. If there is, say like a person who's just like a genetic anomaly, typically in sports, if somebody is doing an incredible job in that sport, for being a genetic anomaly, we don't typically like hate on that or say like that's unfair, that shouldn't happen. We typically celebrate it, actually. I mean, we do it all the time. I mean, we could look at, for example, Usain Bolt or Shaq. These are individuals that they have a ridiculous advantage over people. And because they have this ridiculous advantage over people, and let's face it, it's a natural genetic advantage over people. Yet for whatever reason, we let them compete. Is it fair that they compete? Hell no. No, it's not fair at all. Have you seen the size of Shaq? Have you seen that guy drink a water bottle? It's the biggest dude I've ever seen. It's insane. Anyway, do you understand where I'm coming at?
Oh yeah, sure. First Amenders. So listen, I think we're just going to have to agree to disagree. I don't think there's going to be any reasoning here. You know, you have the way that you think, I got the way that I think. So I think I'm just gonna end it here.
All right. Good talk.
Good talk. But before I go though, what color crystal do you want?
Color crystal? What is that?
Yeah. Just what kind of color crystal do you want? Just any color. Let's pick a color.
Why? Are you going to give me a gift? What is that?
No, I just want to know what color crystal do you want?
Is this some sort of weird I don't really understand. I'm sorry. What is the context of that, of that question?
Fine. You know what? It's all good, Mr. Mender. Just don't worry about it. Good talking with you. I hope you have a good one, man. Hopefully we could do this soon. Maybe we could do it again over the abortion topic.
Okay.
And yeah, there you go.
Was this supposed to be like a symbolism thing?
Sure, symbolism.
No, I want to know what it means.
Just forget I said anything. It's just an inside joke. All right.
Okay. All right.
Just
well,
don't bother.
Bring me in on it. I want to. I want to hear it.
It's all good. It's all good. First.
Why are you being so secretive about it? All right.
I just don't know. But all right. I'll talk to you later, man.
All right. Good talk. What did you think about that, Daniel?
I don't know, man. It's like I like these people that are so worried about and care so much about women being sexually assaulted. But then again, they go and defend Trump on his sexual assault crimes. And
True.
I can't really trust them when they're saying they really care about the well-being of women. And by the way, that thing, it's like when he said that, remember when you showed him the trans women, the trans men, and he said, "Oh, we should go to the woman's bathroom." That's the first time I said, "Oh, so a cis man can just tell you he's a biological female, and you'll say, oh yeah, just go in there, it's fine." He literally. So I wanted to talk to you about that. It's like at the end of it all, because like I didn't think you caught on to it, but then it's like with your questions, you got him to actually admit that thing, right? And he fucking hated it because he literally admitted it. It's like that's it, you know. It's like according to his worldview, is literally
it's the
nothing
same
different
thing.
from our.
There's no different from the pro-trans position.
No, there is a difference because it's like I wouldn't ask people, right? He would at least ask people, and the only way to actually make sure that his questions are being answered truthfully would be to put like gender searching people at the entrances of bathrooms, right? You just have somebody that checks your gender, right? Oh, do I sense balls or do I sense not balls?
What is
yeah. It was just like weird. They're just weird people.
They're gonna rub the two grapes together. Just
exactly.
That's so weird.
It is weird, and they don't understand how weird it is. The only thing they're talking about is this. That's it.
Yes, exactly. Right. Why are they focusing on a non-issue?
Can I tell you? I want to tell you something, good Amender.
What's up?
Do you know Daily Wire, like the Ben Shapiro thingy? Mm-hmm. Like he's like whatever. So they did a movie. It was called Ballers or something like that. Okay. Where there was like this basketball team that was made of just like men that were competing in the women's whatever, right? Like the right-wing fantasy about how trans people are. Initially, that movie was supposed to be a documentary where they actually paid somebody to pretend to be trans and to dominate a women's sport.
Mm-hmm.
They were unable to find anybody, any right-winger nut, willing to do that for money. Okay? And
wild.
Because of that, they said, yeah, we're just going to fucking make a movie in that case, right? It's like, we're just going to make a movie, and it's a movie, right? They couldn't do it. But these guys come here and they just say, oh, this happens all the time, all the time.
Yeah, it's even more wild because like they're bringing up a hypothetical and then they extrapolate it to being like, well, you want women to be in danger. I'm like, bro, they're in danger from cis men, not trans women aren't going around sexual essaying women. It's just stupid. I don't know where they get that idea.
Most all the victims are known to their assaulter.
Yes,
strangers running
like
around the
family,
street,
like family members.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's wild.
They don't care about safety for women.
Church. We shouldn't let little girls to church, right?
Oh man, I should have brought up church.
Essayed in church,
idea.
Right?
God dang it.
That's bigger. I don't know. It's like they don't really get these things, and they're just focusing. And this is just a rehash of like the 80s when they were having the same type of argument. It wasn't trans people then; it was gay people.
Gay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. The exact same thing. Nothing changed.
Danger.
Exactly. They're going to sexually assault people. They're like so evil. The same things.
It's just wild.
I ask every single one of these people that bring this up to show me some statistics, give me some hard
They don't
facts.
have any. They don't have
they
any.
Feel like exactly, they don't. And then you post actual people who are trans, and they're like, "Yeah, they should. Yeah, these guys should use the girls' bathroom."
Anyway, so we do have Apostolic here who had their hand up. What did you want to talk about, Apostolic?
Yeah, so I'm coming in. Obviously, I'm sure we will disagree and debate about it, but I do have to go to bed soon. I'm calling in less to debate and more to get like a better understanding of the pro-trans position.
Cool.
Is that fair?
No, sure.
So first, I want to, because I tried to steelman this as best as I could. So at any point, you can just stop me and correct me, right? Before we continue.
Okay.
So the foundational assumption that I've noticed is that gender is like a subjective social construct and it's a matter of personal identity that's kind of like akin to a name or maybe the concept of, say, motherhood, where, yes, motherhood is biological. Really? Okay.
Yeah. So aspects of gender, such as like specific gender roles or what women wear versus what men wear, to what hair they wear, to like what clothing they wear, to the these are all the social constructions, right? And its only basis is in social construction. But gender and gender identity, a person identifying as a particular gender, being the same or different, has a basis in biological determinism, as it is biologically determined.
All right. Is this like the common position of most trans folks?
Yes.
All right then. Okay, then I'll correct that bit. However, to defend the idea that a woman or a biological female can identify as a man, you have to posit that like some elements of manhood are social constructs, right? And if a woman desires to align herself with those social constructs and call her a man, that she can, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's generally the vibe. So, and these types of people should not be attacked because we live in a society, or at least we should, that is founded on individual liberty, because we believe this to have the most positive outcomes, as long as it doesn't interfere with the liberties of others. And trans people, at least I haven't seen enough proof that they affect the lives of others in such a radical way. So therefore, we should be accommodating to them, right?
Yes.
Okay, so there is no reason then, if gender is like kind of a series of traits or understandings of identity, right, that each person can kind of identify with, regardless of biological sex. It is related to biological sex in certain ways, but they don't need to be considered one and the same. There's no reason to then deny them this, right?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? I was.
Yeah, my bad.
My
bad
brain goes. No. My brain goes all sorts of directions. I was. I apologize. Just repeat it.
All right. Okay. So if gender is like this series of traits or like understandings of identity, generally how you feel, there's no real reason to align it or consider it one the same as biological sex, right? And therefore no reason to deny people the right to identify with something that isn't their biological sex, even if there's a lot of correlation, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so to this steel man, which I've adjusted, right? So to this steel man, I've offered my argument, and I'm curious to know your responses to this before I go off to bed. Anyway, so I believe, because I do not believe in the maxim of maximizing individual liberty from the get-go. This is an axiom that I reject. That I do believe that this freedom results in overall societal confusion and confusion about roles and obligations. I believe this trends towards an intensely individualistic society where people do not have understandings of their roles and duties, and that this overall does lead to societal decay. But because we both approach this from completely different standpoints, you as I assume, some sort of utilitarian?
I'm a rule utilitarian.
Okay. And me as a Christian, we have completely different like opinions of societal decay. And that's why like I'm really trying to just get your responses to this to make a stronger argument for myself, because then we're going to get into the whole weeds about the God thing. So I hope you don't mind. But what would you say to that?
I also do not believe in necessarily maximizing individual liberty. It is possible that somebody can try to maximize individual liberty and cause a great deal of harm of people. So okay. I don't believe in maximizing. So I think we're in agreement that in certain instances, maximizing of individual liberty can lead to societal decay.
Mm-hmm. So what would you like define as societal decay? Like what are the signs that you are looking for that tell you that society is indeed going off the rails?
I would probably look at life expectancy. I would look at access to food, access to water, socioeconomic conditions, the lowest levels of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I'll go ahead and present it for those who are not aware. Give me a moment. Hold on. Sorry, just give me a quick moment. I'll show up my Chrome, and I'll also post the image in side chat for those. But yeah, if you notice right here, the lowest levels is access to air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, and reproduction. And this is not when it's saying reproduction, I'm saying like, not like, oh, I deserve access to a girlfriend. I hope you know what I mean by that.
Of course. Okay, so now for some more, how about for some more like metaphysical things? So say a society has all these things, right? Like where the vast majority of the population, if not all, does have these basic things. Because I'm sure you wouldn't say then that, a North Korea type state where people have all these things is a flourishing society.
If you have fulfilled the bottom two levels of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, then basically at that point, you have the best possible society on Earth.
True, yeah, but
if you have like your air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, reproduction, your personal security, employment, resources, health, and property, if every individual has those things satisfied, that is an insanely high quality of living society where at that point it'd just be like, what more do you want? Go live your life.
So is it a question of certain political or economic systems being better able or more likely to meet this?
Yeah, I mean, like societies that have a great deal of social safety nets and capitalist systems that have strong worker rights is usually the society that does better, at least currently in the 21st century. I mean, I don't know. Is it possible that there is a better society out there that I cannot imagine currently? Maybe, sure. That's currently what I'm aware of, realistically.
So, okay, so then in your understanding, obviously, I can imagine any authoritarian system would not match these requirements.
That's correct.
All right. So how about a society in which people, or the vast majority of people, do have access to the first two levels of the pyramid, right? At the cost of a minority being denied those things.
Then the bottom two levels aren't met at that point. Because
Okay,
now
so
you're
I'm
subjugating a minority, their personal security, their employment, their resources, health and property, and potentially their air, their water, their food, their shelter, their sleep, their clothing, and reproduction.
Okay, so I'm starting to see. So a government that limited the rights of trans people, or what in your eyes are the rights of trans people, then would be a government that by definition is not fulfilling the first two levels of the pyramid, and therefore is not ideal, right?
Correct.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. However, do you have any like more, shall I say? I mean, I know you're an atheist, but I hope you'll allow me to use the word spiritual requirements, like
No.
less physically demonstrable things that if you saw would say, "Oh, society's going in the wrong direction." Because
I think
as a
if
little
people,
thought
this is probably, yeah, I mean, I don't know about spiritual. I just don't have anything spiritual, whatever. But something that is less like physicality to it is the concept of private property rights. I think if you started eroding away at basic property rights, then you would end up with some pretty common issues. Like, I mean, there's the concept of tragedy of the commons. Have you ever heard of this?
no.
All right, I'll pull it up. Give me a moment. Sorry, I like using like pictures and stuff so that way people can kind of figure out what I mean by these things.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so basically what we're looking at here is the tragedy of the commons. So here we have the first here on the left, use of the commons below for carrying capacity of the land, all users benefit. And so what happens is that basically imagine that there is like this piece of land held in common, right? As in nobody owns it. It's just there for anybody to use. And let's say that everybody has sheep and they make money, with sheep. Well, in reality, there is every desire to basically just use the land as they see fit. And so each person would just decide to get more sheep. If one or more users increases the use of the commons beyond its carrying capacity, the commons becomes degraded and the cost of degradation is incurred to all users. And so unless environmental costs are accounted for and addressed in land use practices, eventually the land will be unable to support the activity. Basically, it just turns the common land into a desolation. An aspect that removes the tragedy of the commons is the right of private property, specifically the ownership of land. You can't decide that you're going to, take over somebody's land and allow them to consume, the resources of the land. You do not have a right to it. And so because it is yours, quite often people will go out of their way to take care of their land. knowing
Yes.
that it is sustainable. And so there is a necessity to the ownership of land, whereas or property in general. The next thing is like just thinking about owning, I don't know, like going out of your way to work really, really hard, and you like say buy something that you like. Let's just say a trombone or whatever. You spent thousands of dollars on this trombone, and somebody just walks up and they just take it because there's just no property. What is like stopping me from just becoming a vigilante and doing like the same thing, like just going out there and just turning society effectively into Mad Max, knowing that property doesn't matter anymore, right? Like you could just go up to anybody, kill them, take their stuff, walk away. So like the concept of property rights is very, very necessary. And I guess what I'm trying to tell you is that you're asking for something that is not, concrete. The concept of property rights is not concrete, but I think it's extremely necessary for society to work.
Okay, I see. So, but one thing I meant by my previous question, so let me say here hypothetically, like there's one society where the two levels of Maslow's hierarchy were met, but those two things don't necessarily obviously give you immunity towards sadness or pain, right? So
give me one quick second.
Let's
Sorry,
say one
just
society.
can you hold the thought? Just give me a second. Hold on. I want to give you undivided attention, and someone, cool V1C was just messaging. Just give me quick, very quick. All right, sorry, go ahead.
All right, so there are two societies, and obviously the fulfillment of the first two levels of Maslow's hierarchy would not shield human beings from like experiencing tragedy, for instance, or pain or heartbreak. So now imagine two societies, both have Maslow's hierarchies of needs met, but one society has a much higher divorce rate, right? And the other doesn't.
Yeah.
Now, would you argue then, because I'm trying to understand, would you argue that the society with the higher divorce rate necessarily, as long as the first two levels of the pyramid are met, those divorce rates then wouldn't be causing a bad effect, right? Because essentially, if the first two levels of the pyramid are met, wait, hold on, I'm trying to organize my thoughts here. Haven't practiced talking much. Give me a few seconds.
Sure, take your time.
All right. That the right or wrongness of a thing depends on its widespread effects, right? So in those two societies, might you say that neither of them are better than the other? Because in a society where there's a 50% divorce rate, but they both have both levels of the hierarchy met and they are equally happy, well, then those divorces were the right thing to do, as compared to the first one where there are no divorces, right?
I mean,
if you understand what I'm
saying. When I look at
so,
like a society and having higher, or it could be an indication that society is worse if there is more divorces. But posit, for example, I believe that the concept of divorces, I think that it should be something that is left up to individuals to decide amongst themselves. And the societal pressure that you ought not get a divorce because it is, I don't know, spiritually the wrong thing to do. I don't think that's right either, because someone can genuinely be extremely unhappy in their life and just want to end it all and just have no way to correct anything. It just would be a miserable existence where everyone is just forced into a life that they don't necessarily want. It could be an argument to be made that society is worse if there are more divorces. But if I had to imagine, a society where there's less divorces, or Iraq, compared to the United States, where there's a lot more divorces, I would imagine you would rather live in the United States as opposed to Iraq.
Sure. All right. So I see. And let me think of if I have any more questions. I don't think I do. So, but if I do, I'll just pop it up. But in any case, so then it seems here, like the difficulty with a lot of these trans debates is that, like, as we see here, anti-trans and pro-trans people operate on such different axioms. I generally think, because this is the thing, a lot of this is utility based, right? A lot of this is based on what benefits society, but obviously religious people contest like what even the concept of benefiting is, right? Because they also believe in spiritual benefit, yada yada yada. And so fundamentally, like all these debates.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
All these debates eventually just kind of boil down to, unless like made to by a moderator, to a discussion of like the axioms, if that makes sense. But trying to keep it away from that just seems like people never get anywhere.
So I think that here's the thing. If trans people get to exist in society and you don't like the idea of being trans or trans people or whatever, you could just live your life and avoid trans people. You don't have to have them in your life. Trans people can still exist in society, though. If you want to live your, tradcon life, then there's nothing stopping you from doing that. You could just go live a tradcon life. There's nothing wrong with living your traditional lifestyle. But that doesn't mean everybody else has to live that lifestyle. And that's where I'm at with it.
Well, yeah, but the difficulty with that would be, like, for someone like me, would be the idea implicitly that the acceptance of this, or state-sponsored acceptance of this, then encourages others to also follow suit, in which case, from the Christian perspective, souls would be lost. So obviously, again, like, we're operating off fundamentally different axioms.
You're saying souls will be lost?
Yeah, because you're
denying. I don't believe it is
existence.
Unto you to. I mean, obviously, you're not operating on that judgment. Are you? You're saying that you're just worried about them?
Yes.
You're worried that they will end in the gates of heaven, and then go to hell. That's the reason why you want. Actually, you know what? Let me rephrase it, because, I mean, do you think that trans people have a right to, like, exist with the same rights as everybody else?
Trans people have a right to exist as people, but from my worldview, they wouldn't have the right to identify as they wish, because my worldview is primarily, one, duty-based. Second of all, with the belief of a spirit, you get into the belief of a lot of other things, like
duty-based,
a natural order. Yeah, you get into a natural order, and you think that equalizing the concepts of sex and gender are part of that natural order. But then again,
that just sounds to me like a naturalistic fallacy.
No. I'm saying that this requires some grounding in metaphysics, because without metaphysics, there's really no reason for people to.
Yeah, well, I'm saying that the metaphysics that you have here, like specific, like you're operating like the concept of God and traditional gender roles, and I'm saying that you said that it is natural, it is in their nature, but that's just a naturalistic fallacy. That doesn't really explain why we ought be that way.
Well, from the Christian, or really almost any religious point of view, the natural order is a reflection of the Creator's will. Therefore, not exactly a naturalistic fallacy to say nature is like this.
Are you aware? Okay, hold on. Do you agree that being trans has a basis in biology? Like, it's not a social construct; it is neurochemically constructed.
I'd actually like to be educated about that. Sure. Yeah, if you tell me.
I got it for you right here.
Because I can't lie, I don't know too much about the medical side of it.
Give me a sec. I'll provide it right now. Just give me a sec. So I should point out to you that this is not a meta-analysis. It is a mega-analysis. A mega-analysis is even more concrete than meta-analysis. I'll go ahead and provide it right here. Okay, so this is the neuroanatomy of the transgender identity, the mega-analytic finding from the Enigma Transgender Persons Working Group. And I'll post the link in side chat so you can see it. So using a mega-analytic approach, structural MRI data of 803 non-hormonally treated transgender men, TM, transgender women, or TW, cisgender men, CM, and cisgender women, CW. What they found was the transgender persons differed significantly from cisgender persons with respect to their subcortical brain volumes and surface area, but not in cortical thickness. Contrasting the four groups, trans male, trans woman, cis man, cis woman, we observed a variety of patterns that not only depended on the direction of the gender identity, as in towards male or towards female, but also the brain measure as well as the brain region examined. The conclusion that they found is rather than being merely shifted towards either end of the male or female spectrum, transgender persons seem to present their own unique brain phenotype. So understanding this, that there is, like, we could observe literal changes in the brain itself. And by the way, there are also endocrinological findings. That means that the existence of trans people actually has a basis in biological determinism. Like, for example, if your family are redheads and you grow up redheads, it was effectively a biological determinism that you would be a redhead.
Yeah. All right, so that's pretty cool. However, what I would want to ask is if gender is quite just okay.
Before you continue, I could easily say that if it is biologically determined, that means God made them this way.
Not exactly.
Why? It's biologically determined.
The argument I make against that is, I'm sure, though, you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, we do have different brain scans in the brains of, say, psychopaths, for instance, people who don't feel compassion or don't feel remorse for committing horrible acts.
Where did you get that? There have been tons.
No, I'm wondering.
There have been tons of brain scans on psychopaths and found that there's little to no. I have not. That is not observed.
That is not observed?
No.
So is it something that comes with environment, or are they born with it?
Well, it's a mix of environment and born, but it's not something that can be observed. Morphological changes. The morphological changes are occurring among trans people because it has a basis in hormones that exists at an embryonic stage.
Yeah. All right, then I'd shift my response to this, is that different people are allowed, especially within the Christian view that very much so believes in flawed human nature and original sin. It then follows that people can be born with biological defects. Yeah. But to align themselves with those defects would still be improper.
So it would be fair to say that maybe there's an aspect of defect if, say, for example, there was a huge amount of negative repercussions. One good example of this would be, like, I don't know, if somebody had gender dysphoria. Did you know that not all trans people have gender dysphoria, right? Just to be clear.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So if, for example, somebody is living their life as a trans person and no negative implications, then it would not be a defect.
I don't necessarily believe, because again, we're operating off fundamentally different foundations for morality here. Obviously, for a religious person.
I'm not talking about your morality or my morality. All I'm simply saying is your framing, calling it a defect, isn't really analogous, is what I'm trying to explain to you. It's not a defect because it may not actually result in any negative anything.
All right, well then I'd say that human beings can be born with a variety of conditions which incline us towards certain sins or certain immoral behaviors, because in Christianity there is the whole concept of original sins. Being trans, if you choose to identify with that identity, yes, unrepentantly.
There's actually nothing saying anything regarding trans people in the Bible.
In the Bible, well, there's also nothing talking about running over your grandmother with a car, or even if you want to just take the New Testament as
well,
an
it does
example,
say thou shalt not kill unjustly. It sounds like if you're running your
also-
grandma over the car, unless
not-
if she was planning on knifing you, that would be against biblical interpretation. I'm saying like you're applying a biblical interpretation where it doesn't exist.
Well, sure. Look, it also, the Bible does not speak, Jesus does not directly speak on rape, for instance, but we
That's
can
correct.
extrapolate from.
In fact, there's actually a part in the Old Testament that talks about sexual assault, where if it's a virgin, you can pay their father 50 shekels of silver, and you must marry her for as long as they live. Sounds like a pretty good deal, honestly, to the assaulter.
Well, that is a whole rabbit hole we can go on to later.
Dude, it's a nightmare. Well, a lot of people I hear
real...
like from a lot of like Christians and stuff. I hear, well, that's Old Testament.
No, that's not what I would say. That's not what I would say.
What would you say?
Because that
sounds interesting.
What I would say, well, if we go into that, we'd be going into a realm of scholarship that I'm not afraid to admit is beyond my ken. There are a lot of conservatives who just completely talk out of their ass, and then they get humiliated. Old Testament scholarship is something I'm actively researching, getting more educated in. Right, there are many men more intelligent than me.
Have you read the Bible? Sorry to interrupt you.
Of course.
So
I know
you got through
exactly
Leviticus and Numbers, and you were like, God did that.
Yeah.
How?
Because you're operating off of a moral framework which is subjective, and mine is grounded in a creator.
But
so
the grounding of the creator was like, hey, you can kill the men, the women, the children, and the nursing babies. And
sure, again,
you can
first,
you can you can sexually assault women, provided that they are a virgin, and you pay the father 50 shekels of silver, which turns out to be about $500 in today's raw silver content.
Yeah, so that was to disincentivize I can't speak English. Disincentivize rape.
How is that? Sorry. Why not just say don't rape?
Because it literally does. Because that was considered a crime.
I just feel like it shouldn't be permissible with a fine, and then you must marry them. I feel like if I were an omnipotent God, I would say don't rape.
We can get into that all we want. However, I would say the 10 Commandments themselves are ample ground for reaching that conclusion. And there are various other instances.
It doesn't actually say anything regarding rape. You're correct. It doesn't.
No.
In fact, if anything, it has condonements of such an act under certain conditions, which is why I consider that like maybe my subjective view of morality is probably better than the objective Bible.
Look, so in terms of the Old Testament scholarship, as I said, I feel like we're veering off topic. That is something that I do need to get more educated in. Second of all, you're presupposing a Bible-only interpretation of Christianity, which historically has not been the case. The church has been huge in terms of interpreting scripture and dishing out teachings. So you don't.
All right. I mean, if you want to go elsewhere, that's fine. If you want to get back on topic, we can do that.
Yeah, exactly. So what I am saying. So where were we last time?
We were talking about trans people and how I like you could easily interpret that it's actually perfectly okay to be trans. God made them trans based on the fact that it is biologically determined, and being trans in and of itself does not mean that you must lay with another man or a woman. It just means that this person can express themselves how they feel in their gender. So being trans in and of itself wouldn't mean that it is immoral or that it's an abomination to God.
The reason why I feel like arguing from the Bible is useless is because even if I prove to you unequivocally that the Bible condemns transgenderism, you don't care about the Bible. So what does
That's
that really
fair. I'm
achieve?
saying like well, because I'm trying to compel you. Yes, you're right. I do not find the Bible to be a valid source. I think it's an old book that a lot of people believe to this day, and I just don't think it's relevant in terms of like what would be like a modern framework of morality. I think we've moved far past that. I think concepts of secular humanism are much, much better than any biblical interpretation, no matter how I spin it. And so, I mean, but at the end of the day, because I still have read the Bible and I understand the Bible's arguments, I know for a fact that the Bible doesn't say anything about anti-trans.
Sure. However, you could say that the church has unequivocally condemned this throughout her whole history.
No,
That's
the
thing.
Catholic Church has not done
Bible, yes, it has. It
that.
has.
Nope.
Yeah.
The
believe
previous
me.
pope was unequivocally in favor of trans people and letting them live their life as they see fit. So now what?
Actually, no. So that's a big misconception. Pope Francis was liberal in comparison, certainly, to the previous pope before him, but he was more anti-trans than the most right-wing Republican in Congress in the United States. He was okay-ish with them living as they were. He did believe that they should have rights because he did not believe in the state sanctioning punishments against these people. However, religiously, he did say that being trans and affirming that identity to yourself was a sin. He did believe that. If you actually look into what he has said on the matter, you will find this. He's also called homosexuality or homosexual acts as sins. Pope Francis was not the like progressive saint that many people paint him out to be.
I mean, I'll grant you that it is likely like pretty nuanced. I mean, he was here for a long, long time. Though I am aware that like he even met with transgender individuals and advocates, offering support and emphasizing their dignity, and even in one instance referring to the trans women as daughters of God, highlighting an inclusive and pastoral approach. And under his leadership, the Vatican affirmed that transgender individuals could be baptized and serve as godparents or witnesses at weddings, provided that such roles wouldn't cause any scandal. I mean, I can go ahead and I have it right here. Am I getting attacked in this game? What is going on? Who's hitting me? Sorry, give me a sec.
Trans people
Sorry,
were allowed to be
these I gotta follow Daniel's advice, which is take up Town Portal. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so I'll go ahead and post it right here. Give me a moment.
Right, but this is the thing: transgenders were allowed to be baptized with the strict provision that they repented or displayed repentance for their transition. They were not allowed to be baptized if they affirmed, contrary to church teaching, their homosexual identity. I mean, no, that's transsexual. I can't speak English. Transgender identity, right? So the Catholic Church has decided, even before Francis, a long time ago, that being transgender was not okay. You have the oldest denominations of Christianity, Catholicism, Eastern Orthodoxy, the Armenian Church, all these churches who had their founding closest to the time Jesus lived, right? All unequivocally saying that transgenderism is a sin.
Jesus Christ never said that.
We already went over this. Jesus never spoke on a lot of topics.
Yeah. So Jesus never said that.
However,
where are you getting that Jesus said that?
But the understanding of Christians has never been, if Jesus hasn't said XYZ, therefore we can't make rulings on XYZ. This has never been the understanding of Christians throughout a majority of history. It's really only after the Protestant Reformation where you get this kind of idea of, oh, if it's not in the Bible, then you should just scrap it. But this
well,
is
I
not
mean,
an
I'm just
idea
pointing it. I mean, I'm just like, so then where are we getting it? Where is it coming from?
well,
Where is
obviously
this
from a Catholic
anti-trans stuff coming from?
from a Catholic perspective, it
Yeah,
is
the
coming
Catholics don't agree with that.
from God. They do though. From God through the church.
They don't. I mean, maybe if you're referring to like certain Eastern Orthodox sects, you might have a point, but not all Catholics believe in what you're saying.
So you
So
might
I'm
call
just
this
confused.
a true Scotsman fallacy. However, Catholics who affirm transgender ideology are not real Catholics because they are against.
I mean,
teaching.
you've pointed out the fallacy. I didn't even have to do it for you.
Yeah, but however, I'll say
How
why
do
it
you?
isn't a true Scotsman fallacy.
Yeah,
because
well,
this
it is a
time
no
it's
true Scotsman, so it's not really logical to
because this
operate
time
that
it's
assumption.
specifically true. Because the Catholic Church has rules regarding membership, right? And rules regarding communion with the church. And part of that is to hold to every infallibly laid down teaching of the Catholic magisterium.
If
one of those
the way
is
that you want to establish saying that being trans is a sin, and the reason why is because insert ad populum fallacy and also insert no true Scotsman fallacy. Then I mean, at that point, I can just say that, you know, more power to you. I mean, I'm never going to convince you outside of that. If like your only argument is just two fallacies wrapped up into one.
So
I would just reconsider it, because if your reasoning is a fallacy.
No, because I was in the middle of explaining why it's not a true Scotsman fallacy.
Go ahead.
Okay, the reason why it's not a no true Scotsman fallacy is because the church has strict rules on what membership of it entails. This includes faithfulness to the teachings of the church as laid down by the magisterium, and one of those is the unequivocal statement that trans people or that transgenderism, or affirming an identity that is other than your biological sex, is a sin. This has been the teaching. This has been the teaching of the Catholic Church ever since this became a hot button issue. Pope Francis led many to believe that he was liberal on this matter because he did have a more accepting attitude. However, to say that he ever affirmed transgender identity is not true.
I gave you multiple instances where he did.
No, I'm telling you.
And you're saying that people that don't affirm these things, they're not a real Catholic.
So, yeah, and I'm telling you, because
can I point that out?
So I actually have here an Eastern Orthodox individual. I'm curious, would you be okay? Like, would you prefer that it's just you and I? Because I'm actually kind of curious as to what Dylan would have to say, because I know he's very he's also a Catholic, but you know, maybe Catholic, yeah. Someone of your own would might sound more convincing. What do you think?
So yeah, that would be good. But if I'm given, let's say, just 5 more minutes alone with you, and then he can jump in.
Okay, sure. So
because I got to go to bed soon.
Keep silent right now and then in about 5 minutes.
But in any case, with the Eastern Orthodox, there will be truly no argument to be had there, because the Eastern Orthodox Church truly does not play around with this stuff. However, as I said, the Church has specific rules regarding membership, and believing that transgenders affirming a sexuality other than their biological sex isn't a sin, excommunicates you automatically from that membership. Therefore, to say that someone is not a Catholic if they don't subscribe to certain tenets of the Catholic faith is not a no true Scotsman fallacy. It'd be like me saying I'm a Marxist, I believe in the free market, and I actually believe capitalism's amazing, and a communist says, no, you shouldn't believe him because he's not a communist. They're not committing a no true Scotsman fallacy. They're just pointing out a fact that I do not hold the key beliefs of communism.
So I pulled up a quick statistic. And maybe you'll find this convincing, but I don't know, maybe not. But what it is saying here is that there was a PRRI survey indicating a trend of U.S. Catholics' overall support for LGBTQ plus equality continues to grow. However, the statistic of 80% support for non-discrimination protections that can cover the fact that Catholic respondents' answers on more specific issues like public accommodations for trans people and gender-affirming medical care indicate more work is needed. That some 70% of Catholics believe in male-female sex binary and can significantly hinder trans equality. So I mean, would you say would you support non-discrimination of trans people?
Depends how you define discrimination. If you talk about active maltreatment like bullying, then I'd say no. But discrimination as in treating differently, especially in regards to religious sacraments, then obviously, yeah. But I want to quickly say I have statements by Pope Francis.
I have this right here. 3/4 of U.S. Let's see here. Among Catholics, we have here that. Let's take a look here. Oh, by 2022. Yeah, it does look like it's dropping. Isn't that sad? Yeah, I guess more work does need to be done here. But yeah, it does appear 37% as of 2022. 37% believe that it can be different from sex at birth. Whereas 60. So you're saying these 37%, they're not real Catholics.
Yeah. And many of them would only call themselves Catholic by name because they willingly do not hold to many of the church's teachings.
And it doesn't really address any real argument, but
of course it does, because I just
because
said
it's just a no true Scotsman.
The church itself has laid down rules for membership, and if you break those rules willingly, you are not a member. I don't see how that's a no true Scotsman. Again, with the communist example, if I said communism I'm a communist, but I believe private property is based, and someone says your opinion doesn't count because you're not a communist, that's not a no true Scotsman.
I don't think you understand what a communist is if you think that would make a communist go an
orthodox Marxist. Sorry, an orthodox Marxist.
No, even they would be okay with the concept of private property.
An orthodox Marxist would be okay with the concept of private property?
Yes.
Remember, the word orthodox is key here. Orthodox as in they follow.
I understand what an orthodox Marxist is, right? So socialism just basically argues the workers' ownership of the means of production, a transitionary process that leads to communism, which is the stateless, moneyless, classless society. At no point does it ever argue anti-property rights.
It absolutely does. So it
talks about taking away the property from the bourgeoisie, so that way it can be owned in common. But that is not a revocation of property rights.
No.
I can't believe I have to bring that up.
Personal property, personal property.
Yeah,
personal property.
Exactly.
Toothbrushes. We're talking about private property like houses. That's what I referred to. Land. The private ownership of land is condemned unequivocally by Marxists. I already knew about the distinction of personal property from the get-go. So then that's just a mix-up of terminology.
Okay.
So from the beginning, I meant ownership.
We're moving away from the topic, but as of right now, all it just appears to be to me is that you're just redefining the term to dismiss an otherwise valid counterexample, rather than addressing the evidence or revisiting the original claim. You just go, well, they're not actually Catholic. And then that's the end of the discussion. I mean, if you find that to be particularly convincing, then more power to you. You have more faith than I do.
It is not for individual Catholics to define what Catholicism is, because the Catholic Church is not a democracy in how it functions, right? Like, you know that. So it doesn't matter if 70%
I actually don't know how the voting system works, nor do I think you're aware of how the voting system works.
If you want, I can
in the Catholic Church. In the Catholic Church.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
So there
I thought isn't that done in secret, like their technique?
Yeah, the cardinals vote, but the people do not elect the bishops. So the people.
Okay, but there is voting.
It is a form of representative democracy, though, because it's complicated. But yes, since there is a form of voting, it technically is a you wouldn't constitute it as a dictatorship, correct? That's not what the
okay.
Catholic
So
Church is.
the reason why I brought you up here, Dylan, is to talk about the trans argument, because you have been a person that is, you've appeared to, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've appeared to be very, very pro-trans in that there's nothing effectively sinful about being trans.
Correct. And I also
so I mean, by this person's light, you are not a true Catholic.
I mean, that doesn't really bother me either way, but either so, I think I would be considered a true Catholic and it should be, because of the fact that being anti-trans is basically saying that having gender dysphoria, which is a clinical condition, is sinful, which is not, right? That's something that both the Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church have defined, right?
Yes.
Suffering from gender dysphoria is not the sin part, nor is the person saying that they're trans. Them saying that they're trans is not committing sin. What we argue is the act of committing sin is when we start doing something to the body, which specifically is focusing on the transitioning period. If you transition to identify with the other sex, that is what right now would be considered sinful within the Catholic and the Orthodox Church, because you would be going against Corinthians, right? Or which that is the base of it, where Corinthians 6:19-20 says, or do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you, whom you have from God? You are not your own. Kind of understanding that there's this personal connection between you and God. And also the fact that technically gender dysphoria, off of a Catholic understanding, is basically a sense of temptation. And if you go towards this temptation, that is considered to be the sinful thing, right? But I also think there is not enough research to understand the mental issues or the mental ongoings of trans people. We've recently have gone through that, and those have to dig deeper. And also the Catholic Church in itself, right? That's why there's a problem with you saying that Pope Francis is anti-trans, because he's not anti-trans. Pope Francis is someone that I looked at as a theologian for much of my time, right? He's also from a neighboring country next to mine. And he would not be considered anti-trans more than a conservative in the United States who wants to systematically remove people's choice of choosing their health care, right, when it comes to what they want to do in terms of hormones and stuff like that, right? And you can just go this into the Catisma. Do you know what the Catisma is?
Catechism.
Well, Orthodox Church calls it Catisma, but if you call it...
I was just making sure we were...
But you know what the Catechism... You know what it is, correct? Okay, so if you go to the Catechism 2333 to 2334, I mean, here there's the Church's understanding, right, of what we can, when it comes to sex, when it comes to the way that God is, right? Saying that, well, God created man in his image, men and female he created them. He blessed them and said, be fruitful and multiply. When God created men, he made them in the likeness of God. Men and female he created them, and he blessed them and named them man when they created. Then it goes on to say the sexuality affects all aspects of the human person in the unity of his body and soul. It essentially concerns affectivity, the capacity to love and to procreate, and in a more general way, the aptitude for forming bonds of communion with others, right? So again, the sinful part still has to not be trans. So I'm confused where you're saying that Pope Francis or being Catholic must mean that that's the position. Right? I'm confused on that.
So if by anti-trans you understood thinking gender dysphoria is a sin, that's not what I meant. Anti-trans as in believing that someone identifying with an identity that is contrary to their biological sex is a sin. And yes, Pope Francis does believe that.
Okay, so number one, where does it affirm that both in the Catisma or in the actual Bible that by identifying as trans you are committing a sin? And where has Pope Francis written in any of his books or theological documents that he is considered to be anti-trans with the position that you've explained? Because I've already showed you that the Catisma does not say anything about the identity. It actually says accepting your sexuality and accepting your sex affects all parts of your thing. And if you continue on, also the fact of this one, 23333, saying everyone, man and women, should acknowledge and accept his sexual identity, physical, moral, and spiritual difference and complementarity are oriented towards the goals, the goods of marriage, and the flourishing of family life. The harmony of the couples and of society depends in a part of the way in which the complementary needs and mutual support between the sexes are lived out. So I'm confused on where doesn't this say in the Catisma and where did Pope Francis ever mention that identifying as trans is considered to be a sin, or in the Bible, whichever one.
All right, so first of all, Pope Francis has many times made statements regarding the sinfulness of identifying as trans. Let me pull this up. Okay, so even non-personal statements that were endorsed by him, but I'll pull up an interview first. This was Pope Francis in an interview about his book, The Strength of Vocation. It made me think of something, quote, it made me think of something Pope Benedict said. We are living in an age of sin against God the Creator. One thinks of nuclear arms, of the possibility to destroy nature, of gender theory that does not recognize the order of creation. I will talk about another Vatican Congregation for Catholic Education, which was under Francis's leadership and therefore was approved by him. Theory speaks of a gradual process of denaturalization, that is a move away from nature. This ideology leads to educational programs and legislative enactments that promote a personal identity radically separated from the biological difference between male and female. These are statements by the Vatican, by the Catholic Church, unequivocally condemning identifying as transgender.
Could you link that for me?
Yes, I could. All
Let me
right,
see that.
let me. Sorry, it might take me a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get another one.
I think that was just the beginning eye overview.
So what are we looking at here?
Right, and then, another encyclical written by Francis. This is much more.
Wait, I'm waiting for the first link.
Oh wait. Oh yeah. Well, wait. That didn't send.
No, it's just a Bing overview.
Oh my
AI
bad.
overview.
My bad. Okay, that's number one. And this is his encyclical, if you care to read it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you just sent me to the website of the Higher Education of the Catholic Church. That doesn't actually take me to whatever the interview. No, it's not. I don't know if you have like this thing, and then.
Hold on.
Well, and let's read this. Do you know which part of the document that you just sent me, which is like 300 pages?
300 pages. So I got the quote was from Google, which was taken from this document. So you'd have to.
Okay.
Like I know it's there.
Give me
if you have any software that has like a search engine or something of the sort. You
I
can
can
try. You can fact check me.
I'm trying to
either
understand
by.
the context of the quote.
Yeah, so you can, though I'm sure you'd probably want to do this later, you can download the document and then
I
like
already
just put it
did,
into an AI and be like, does it ever say this? Give me the context.
That's not an effective way of doing it, but okay. But give me the first one, the interview. I feel like that's pretty easy. Someone in the chat.
Okay.
Someone in the chat already recommended a page. Nice. Let's see. I'm guessing it's the point where it says about gender ideology.
Yeah.
So again, I think this has been defined a different way, but let me check. Okay, yet another challenge is posed by the variation forms of an ideology of gender that denies the difference and represent in the nature of a man and a woman, and envisions a society without sexual differences, thereby eliminating the anthropological basis of the family. This ideology leads to the educational programs. Okay, perfect. Okay. Human identity becomes the choice of the individual, one which can also change over time. It is a sort of concern that some ideologies of this sort, which seek to respond to what are at times understandable aspirations, manage to assert themselves as absolute and unquestionable. Which it needs to be emphasized that the biological side and the social can be distinguished but not separated. On the other hand, technological revolution in the field of man, I feel like this is specifically targeting gender ideology when it comes to teaching, right? Meaning like indoctrinating people at a young age, but also talking about how specifically making the distinction and also the result of people transitioning, right, is what is considered to be thereby eliminating the anthropological basis of the family, right? Because if you're going to take this into the account, right, that this is specifically talking about identity, okay, it would be considered sinful, but there are still like this is the problem though, because it doesn't say that by identifying with it, you are sinful. It is saying that because of the ideology that spreads it, right, to where people are now imagining a society where there's no sexual difference between a man and a woman, where there's no biological difference between a man and a woman, right? Or there are differences of what God has commanded them, right? That is what is negative. And teaching that to people, right? And also someone mentioned a quote, but again, it's still onto the same thing. That's after the fact that it talks about the teaching aspect, right?
Yeah.
It's mentioning onto children. It doesn't actually say anything about identifying as trans being the sinful act. The sinful act is completely taking an ideology and throwing out biological ideology that have already existed, which is that trans people exist. If trans people exist, following the catisma, the way that it is written, people are made in God's image, which includes this. So say that because people are accepting of the way that God made them, in a sense, is just saying, well, I have this or I have that. We are then saying that they are sinful because of that act. That then that would if you are then saying that, then what you're saying is that the teaching of Pope Francis is going against the Catisma, which would be a huge contradiction because that would be, Pope going against what has already been established in the church. And also, it doesn't say anything about that. Also, we have to look at the actual things that Pope Francis has done. Pope Francis has been shown to be one of the most accepting when it comes to LGBTQ. Also talking about many things and accepting things. I mean, here I have a news report of a individual who is a journalist who is Catholic and is a transgender Catholic male, right? And how he felt warmth when meeting Pope Francis, even after his entire family and others completely left him alone, right? And most of his friends, right?
Yeah, so
I think that's very important to take into account because, again, I don't see that. And I'm still waiting for the interview to analyze the interview. But
so the interview is. Oh, sorry. Keep going.
What I was trying to say is also and some direct actions that he has done. For example, the fact that he has established that trans people can be baptized, and the blessing of the of same-sex couples, not in the sense of the communion, but in terms of the people, because why should trans people have any less blessings than any other person, right? But when it comes to violating God's command, identifying as trans does not violate God's command. The same thing would be identifying as gay isn't going against God's command. Now, seeping into temptation and lying with a man like you would lie with a woman, or doing something to your body that would violate the clause that not the clause, sorry, the verse that I mentioned from Corinthians, or how James explains how temptation is and the progression of sin. That is what's considered the sin, right? Not the actual act of identifying.
Hold on. So, so what's
even
going
the
on
article
here
that you
is
just
that you are trying to separate these two things, the gender ideology.
Oh.
Is he? I can hear you, Dylan. What about something?
I don't know.
happened?
I can't hear him. I think something happened on his end.
Yeah,
you cut off. You cut off for like a solid 20 seconds. Can you start
my
from the
bad.
beginning?
Okay. So to comment on that,
we are cut off in 10 minutes, but I would love to hear you. This is a very interesting discussion, but I do have a hard cut off at 9:30. But go ahead and continue.
All right.
Sorry.
So you are trying to separate. You are trying to separate gender ideology from the act of affirming transgenderism, which the church sees as one and the same. It is viewed as the same thing, as an affirmation of the ideology to affirm that someone can identify with a gender identity that is opposed to their sex. And in response to what you said about that's how God made them, as a Christian, you also believe in original sin. You do believe that we are born with a sinful nature. That does not necessarily mean we must identify with that sinful nature and keep sinning. So that also doesn't work. In regards to Francis's seemingly pro-trans, pro-LGBTQ actions or statements, those were misguided attempts at pastoralism, which, to be honest, just caused more scandal in the church. If you see any honest Catholic bishop, any honest Catholic cardinal, what you will see is that this behavior is unequivocally condemned. At the very most, what you can grant from the catechism passage that you cited was that it doesn't condemn transgenderism, which I already think is a leap. I already think is trying to separate things. However, it doesn't then logically follow that if a pope is against transgenderism, that he's contradicting it, right? Because he is simply assuming something that the text doesn't say. That's not a contradiction. The magisterium of the church has affirmed, especially the Orthodox Church with even more strength, right, that affirming transgender identity is indeed a sin, and you can't defend it by saying this is how God made us. You get this from.
It's not though. So again, do not speak on the Orthodox Church, because the Orthodox Church is split on this thing, but it still is the same issue that I mean, I can just give you an example, right, of what would be considered a situation that would be considered sinful, and which one would it not be. And this is what I was actually writing while you guys were having this conversation. I wrote a little paragraph and said something, right? And basically the paragraph that I wrote was that suffering from gender dysphoria in itself is not considered a sin. What is traditionally viewed as sinful in many Christian teachings is acting upon certain temptation, whether mental, physical, or biological, in ways that contradict God's design. For example, undergoing gender transition procedures may be seen by some as altering the body, which is regarded as a gift from God. Similarly, practices such as masturbation are often rationalized by biological urges like hormonal buildup. Yet many traditions teach that abstinence and self-control can lead to spiritual and psychological benefits. And this perspective is not rooted in transphobia or prejudice, but in a theological framework that emphasizes maintaining a sacred relationship with God and treating the body as a temple, as mentioned in Corinthians. Therefore, I believe it is essential to invest in deeper research into the social and psychological experiences of transgender individuals to explore alternate forms of support and care that align with both compassion and faith-based principles. But one thing that again, and a good example I'm going to mention is this one. There's a website of an Orthodox church that explains this pretty well. and it says, let's look at two different examples. Example number one is, ever since he was 7 years old, Matt didn't feel like a boy. He experienced life as a girl and wanted to live life as that sexualized gender, not the one which God created him. He struggled with these feelings every day and wondered if they would ever go away. Because he knew God loved him, Matt decided not to transition to being a woman. Instead, he continued to struggle towards holiness every day, denying himself and following Christ. Right? And then the second example would be, ever since she was 7 years old, Gina did not feel like a girl. She experienced life as a boy, wanted to live life as the sexualized gender, not the one which God created her. She struggled with these feelings every day and wondered if she would ever go away. Eventually, she decided to transition and began living life as a boy. After hormone therapy and sexual reassignment surgery, she became a man and went by the name Kyle. Right? And it explains that out of these two individuals, which one do you believe committed a sin? If you said the second one, you would be right. It is not a sin to experience gender dysphoria or same-sex attraction. Each of us faces temptation every day of our lives. The ways those temptations manifest naturally differs from person to person. It is not in simply experience temptation that we sin. Rather, the sin lies in acting upon those temptations and failing to live the life of Christ. Right?
So why do you think that falling to the temptation of altering your body to fit with your gender identity is a sin, if identifying as the opposite gender isn't a sin? So why is trying to make the material conform to the immaterial of your mind a sin? Or yeah, exactly. Why is that?
Because suffering from because by identifying with it, you're not seeping into the temptation as if it's not equal. It's not. No, it's not. Because if you just because you say you're trans doesn't necessarily mean that you then necessarily want to transition, which is the sinful thing. Okay. That would be assuming from a premise that because you're choosing to be trans, you're rejecting living a life like Christ. A person can still say that they're trans and still live their life as the sex that they are biologically assigned at birth and reject the ability of transitioning.
Wait,
right?
let's make sure the terms are clear. Okay. So I'm going to ask this one more time just to make it clear. If a man identifies as a woman and lives like a woman and tries to live and hold to a certain amount of stereotypes or cultural norms typically associated with the female sex, is that a sin?
If they're holding, like, explain it in a broad. If they're just, again, the point that I'm making is the identifying part. If they are then coming out and they're, for example, dressing up in women's clothing or doing things differently on purpose and seeping towards the temptation, right? Then yes, no, I would agree with you. That would be considered committing sinful acts. Or leading to sin, maybe it would be a better way, because they don't necessarily have to lead to the sin, which is the action in this sense.
Okay, so now let's take it back. They're not necessarily wearing dresses or makeup, but they don't merely say I feel like a woman as a result of gender dysphoria or some temptation, but they don't have a desire to live as a man, and they do desire to live as a woman. But this doesn't manifest in some of the more obvious ways, like say putting on makeup or wearing high heels.
This wouldn't be considered a sin based off the transition. They would be considered a sin by the fact that they have identified themselves as saying, I reject what has been given at birth and saying that I am a woman and now that I am a man. That would be considered sin.
So someone can reject because their God-given biological sex.
Can they reject it? Yes. Should they? No.
Okay, but you do realize then you're separating gender from sex, right? Which is specifically the error of gender ideology that Francis refers to.
Yes and no. I don't understand how I'm making the distinction. Other than the fact that what I'm saying is, what I am saying is this. Now, I do believe gender and sex are separate, but in the case that I'm currently talking about, all I am saying is that by identifying and saying that even if you seep into the gender ideology, which is the separation of gender and sex, which Francis does say, right? Which does say in both the article that you presented, right, and the one that I presented after, right? That still doesn't Oh my god, I lost my train of thought for a second. Sorry, go ahead because I lost my train of thought. Let me try to regain it back.
Yeah, that's
let's
fine.
go ahead
So,
and let's. I want to hear like some wrap ups from y'all because I'm about 2 minutes till the hard cutoff, unfortunately. So go ahead.
Just
I'm going to
continue
let
after you go?
Apostate. Yeah. Fair enough. I'm just saying. Go ahead, just for the sake of the video. Apostate and Dylan, give us your last thoughts.
All right. So, last thoughts. Pleasure to debate with First Amender. I do hope we can eventually debate again, so we can actually talk about our axioms. It's been fascinating to learn the ins and outs of this, especially from that other perspective, right? But my closing thoughts towards Dylan are that that the Catholic Church unequivocally condemns, through the witness of its magisterium, its teaching authority given to it by the Holy Spirit, as evidenced by Holy Scripture, that the identifying with a gender that is not the one of your biological sex is a sin, because the act of identifying with it is in fact the sin, not merely the act of experiencing the temptation. That is not the sin. And I believe that in trying to separate these two things, that you are necessarily separating gender identity from biological sex, which is not acceptable in any serious Christian denomination. That's my closing thought. Where's Dylan?
In terms of my closing thoughts, I think that the distinction must be made in what is a person considered to be a sin, if temptation is to be considered a sin, or when a person seeks into temptation. I think that's a very important thing, that the distinction is being made, right? Is it sinful to think to think of doing something bad to your body, or is the actual act of doing it the sinful act, right? And my point that I'm trying to make is just having temptation is not a sin. Now, seeking towards that temptation, right, would be considered a sin, and actually doing it is a sin, right? And I'm just trying to explain that within the Catisma, and trying to explain that within the Catholic understanding of it, and also accepting that Pope Francis is not this super anti-trans. I would say that he has anti-gender ideology, which a lot of Catholics are, and a lot of Orthodox are, a lot of Christians are, especially Protestants. And that gender ideology focusing more about the indoctrination of certain teachings of that gender and sex are different within schools, or that there are no biological or sexual differences between a man and a woman, right? That they are supposedly then just the same in that sense, in terms of biological and sexual things.
Mm-hmm. All right. So on that basis, I'm going to go ahead and I'll thank you both for participating today. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, consider subscribing. I'll go ahead and provide it in side chat. If you ever enjoy hearing debates, or you just like to hear a soy boy liberal, I'm the perfect channel to either rage or love. It's all love here. So thank you all very much. And I do this every Thursday, so I hope to see you guys again for next Thursday. Have yourself a wonderful evening.